Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Kerry here from Healing Humanity, along with Adam. So we're streaming this, and obviously we're live here. We thank you all for joining us. We thank all the speakers for coming out. We really appreciate all the support and everyone here. All of the ticket sales for this whole event go 100% towards our documentary, Healing Humanity. So we really appreciate all of you coming out, all the support. For those that are watching on the live stream, thank you as well. If you guys have questions, post them with the QQQ. If anyone here in the audience has a question, we have paper right up here on the table. We're going to be doing a Q&A after the speakers here get up and speak. So if you want to write down a question, please do that. We wanted to give you a quick update on the documentary, Healing Humanity. We just filmed 3 more individuals here in the UK. Lee Copus, Lauren Tucker, and Alex Cannon, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. It was incredible. We just finished filming them yesterday, and that concludes how many? 42 interviews we've done for the documentary, and we're also doing a subsequent series afterwards. We're on the home stretch right now. We have about 4 more interviews to do. The next one will be Tammy Peterson in Arizona, and we got a couple meetups we're going to be doing out there. I wanted to do a couple quick shout-outs here to some of these individuals, the speakers first. These guys are absolutely incredible. I was tearing up yesterday listening to Lauren in particular. She's got an incredible story. Each of these speakers are going to be sharing an inspiring carnivore story with you. And I just want to ask you quick, who here has found healing through a proper human diet? If you could raise your hand. Wow, look at that. You look proud of that. It's pretty amazing, right? I don't know of any other intervention, medicine, diet that you see that kind of healing with. Carnivore has saved me, and I don't know if that would have started if it wasn't for the good doctors. It's like, as an individual, it takes an incredible amount of bravery. You got to go against the grain. You got to become the captain of your own ship. But as a doctor doing that, going against your colleagues and your peers, is pretty incredible. I don't know what started Carnivore wasn't for the good doctors because I needed that reassurance. So we have one of those good doctors here. I'm going to embarrass him now. Here we go. Carnivore Dr. Robert. Dr. Kiltz is my brother. He's absolutely incredible. I can't believe you flew all the way out here for this. You're going to make me start tearing up right now. He's amazing. You could literally be anywhere in the world right now, and you're here.
This is supposed to be. To see everyone here.
Dr. Kiltz is going to be sharing he's a doctor, right? He's got an incredible perspective as a doctor, but I think one thing that's even more incredible is your individual carnivore story. It's very powerful. So Dr. Kiltz will be sharing that a little bit later on in the event. So thank you, huge thank you to all of our speakers. We also got Coach Steven and Richard, and these 2 guys are incredible. They know their stuff more than anyone. And Adam and I give them big props because we did a 24-hour live stream, and we're never doing that again. That was insane. And these 2 gentlemen did it twice. So they're better men than we are. I can't imagine. So thank you all to our speakers. Thank you to Dr. Kiltz. A little bit of agenda. We're going to have inspiring carnivore stories from myself and Adam and all of the speakers here. And then we're going to have a live Q&A. So like I said, any questions from those that are watching the stream, either now or the thousands of people that are watching later, leave comments. But if you have a question here in person, just do it on a piece of paper, please. And then after that, we have some exclusive footage and behind the scenes from the documentary to share with you on the screen. So anything else you want to say, Adam?
Oh, here. So if we know everybody's excited about the documentary, we are as well. So when we show that exclusive footage, if everybody can just turn off the recording devices at the end, that's all cool. But you're free to do whatever you want till then. And yeah, thanks so much for coming and joining us today.
All right, so I'm going to briefly share my story. Many of you may have heard it already. And then we're gonna go down the line here, so. My name is Kerry. I've been carnivore for 640 days now. My wife and I have triplets plus one. You can see them there on the left, and then you can see them now. I'm proud to say all those girls are eating a proper human diet right now, including my oldest that refuses to go on camera. She's also carnivore right now. That picture of me there on the left is 262 pounds, 100 pounds heavier than my daughter Alyssa. She sent me a picture about 100 days into carnivore, and she said, "In the color pants before." That's where I got that picture from. Some of you, anyone familiar with Bill Knott?
Yeah.
So we got a couple clips and some footage of Bill Knott. Like I said earlier, I don't know that I would have started carnivore if not for the good doctors. I think it's really important that we elevate the good doctors. That's what we're trying to do there with Dr. Baker. Wasn't easy, but we did it. I haven't done that pre-carnivore. So just real quick, a little bit about my story. Like I said, I was 100 pounds heavier than I am right now. I had gout for about 18 months before I found carnivore, and it hurt so bad I could barely step down on my foot. My daughter that called me fatty McButterpants also has footage of me riding around on an electric scooter at the grocery store because I couldn't walk through the grocery store. My foot hurt so bad from the gout. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. I had to use one of those CPAP machines for many, many years. I hated that thing. I absolutely despised it. I was diagnosed with IBS. My stomach always hurt. It was always just bubbling and gurgling. And every time I would eat, my stomach would hurt. I tried all sorts of special diets, every diet out there, and nothing helped the IBS. And then I just started progressively getting worse and getting more and more pills. And I would get side effects from that medication, and then they would give me more pills for the side effects. And I ended up with that big bundle of pills right there. I was on about 15 pills at one time. My gallbladder, I had that removed. The doctor checked my gallbladder and they said, that's kind of borderline. And I'm like, I'm in so much pain. Maybe this will help. Take the gallbladder. Shortly after that, I had 2 kidney stones, which was some of the most intense pain in my entire life. I still have PTSD thinking about getting another one of those. And I thought I got another one. I went to the emergency room and it was my appendix. And my appendix burst on the operating table. Would have probably killed me if I wasn't in the hospital. I'm trying to do a big 8-hour procedure, cleaning all of that up. A couple of years ago, I was at home and I was very depressed. That was my biggest issue, depression and anxiety. I had suicidal, hopeless depression for most of my adult life. And it just progressively got worse and worse. My wife took me in to get help. They put me on more medication. And they said, it's going to take 3 months before we know if this antidepressant medication is going to work. And I didn't know if I could make it 3 days, let alone 3 months. I made it 3 months and nothing. It did nothing for me. And they're like, it's okay. We're just going to up the dosage and you're going to have to wait another 3 months. And I did that and I did it again. And a lot of those pills in there were for antidepressants that took over years and years and years, and they never helped me. They turned me into an emotionless zombie, but it never helped with the depression. So that was one of my biggest issues. And then about 8 years ago, I was depressed, sitting on the couch. I went to stand up. I got very dizzy. The side of my face went numb. I was confused. My wife was like, what's going on? I couldn't get the words up to tell her what was going on. She called 911. I ended up in the stroke unit of the hospital. I had a TIA mini stroke. I was in the hospital for 5 days. They did a bunch of tests on me and they said, what the heck is wrong with this guy? You're in your 30s. Like, why do you have all these health issues? And why did you have a mini stroke? And they tested my heart and they diagnosed me with congestive heart failure. My ejection fraction was 44. Besides the congestive heart failure, I've also had a lifelong irregular heartbeat, but it's never really affected anything. But the congestive heart failure was a big one. It's like, congestive heart failure, am I going to die? Like, what does that mean? They told me congestive heart failure is chronic, and at the very best, it's going to stay the same if you improve your diet. I'm not sure what that meant because they never really told me how to improve my diet. But it's probably going to get worse. It's never going to get better, is what they told me. So here I am now. I'm 600 plus days into carnivore. I found carnivore through Dante Ferrigno, an individual, inspiring story that I don't know if I would have started without Dante. And then after that, I went and watched a bunch of the good doctors, Dr. Berry, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Chafee, and ultimately I decided to start this carnivore diet 640 days ago. So as of right now, I'm on no medications. I'm off every single medication. I'm down 100 pounds since my heaviest. The gout went away. The IBS went away really quickly. I stopped snoring almost immediately on carnivore, which just blew my mind. I heard Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan say he stopped snoring the first week on carnivore. I also heard Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan say he got off of all of his antidepressant medications on carnivore. That was something that really inspired me also. All those things are gone. I don't snore anymore. I'm on no medication. The depression was the biggest thing for me in the entire world. I mean, it's the biggest regret I have. My girls, they didn't have a father around. The carnivore gave my girls their father back. I'm here for them now. I'm in the present moment. And the thing with the depression, it was so bad for so long. I would have given anything to just, I would get jealous of people. If that person's just normal, I just want to be normal. I just don't want to be suicidally, horribly depressed. I just want to be normal. The most amazing thing with carnivore is I'm not normal. Adam can attest to that. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum of hopeless suicidal depression. I'm full of joy. I'm full of gratitude. I'm thankful, grateful, blessed. I'm happy for every single day. Like it's the reason I'm so excited about this. There's so many people in the world right now who are hopeless and don't need to be. I'm not saying everyone has to do this, but I would have given anything to have this as an additional tool in the toolbox for the depression and anxiety. I had no clue that it was possibly nutrition. I thought I was defective and there's an imbalance in my brain and it's me. It turns out it was my gut. All disease begins in the gut. It was just the foods I was eating. All of those things was 100% nutrition. I never would have guessed that before, and I believe most people don't realize that, especially for depression and anxiety. So that's the reason I wanted to do this documentary. Like I said, we've since filmed over 40 interviews, and a big component of it is depression, mental health. There's over 1 million people in the world right now with mental health issues, and so we want to get the word out to all of them. So that's my story. Thank you guys for listening, and we're going to have Adam come up here next.
Hello, everyone. Just want to ask a question here before I start. How many here love ribeye? Okay, this would probably get real weird with this story if we were in the wrong place. So this is me. I'm a photographer by trade and own my own business. Actually, if you look here in the picture where I'm in the pink shirt, I actually was sort of fat back in the day. And there with our cat Ella, she's one of our precious cats we have. But you can see she's sitting on the fat tire. So finding carnivore has helped me to reduce weight, but that's not why I started. I actually started because of an autoimmune condition, vitiligo, and it's basically a disease that you don't produce melanin in certain areas of your body. So around my waist, there's no melanin. I never show pictures of that, but it started to appear on my arms after 2 years on a vegan diet, raw vegan diet. And the reason I was on that diet was in solidarity with a business partner of mine that he went on the raw vegan diet to get rid of prostate cancer. So a friend of his, 17 years prior, had beat prostate cancer doing the raw vegan diet. And he decided that was for him. So in solidarity with him, I started the diet. Well, coincidentally, my health started to get worse over that 2 years of eating that raw vegan diet. Did some research into can I fix this situation with vitiligo. Now I had a host of other issues. Obviously I was overweight, I had fasciitis, I had a TBI, traumatic brain injury from 6 years prior before I started carnivore, and so I basically did a search. Can I fix this vitiligo? I found Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan actually has the same condition, and he said that his started to reverse, and I thought, that's impossible because the doctors are basically saying that you can't do this, right? Unless you follow through with this real expensive treatments, things like that. It might get better, but I didn't have the money for that. So, well, if he's doing this carnivore diet, I'm at least going to do some research and figure out, how I'm going to do this. I found Dante Ferrigno, like Kerry did, And his story was so inspiring that I decided to go into it a little bit further, found Dr. Berry, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Chafee, and because MDs are actually qualifying this diet, that I'm not going to die from a heart attack. I dove in, and within 5 months, the vitiligo actually started to reverse, which was really promising. But the most surprising thing to me was the plantar fasciitis that I had for 2 years prior. It was so painful that I could only stand up for 30 minutes, and then I had to sit down for 2 hours. I had to wear a special boot at night. I had to wear special shoes, $250 pairs of shoes. I don't know what that is in pounds. So after 3 days on the carnivore diet, strict carnivore diet, that pain completely went away, and it hasn't come back in almost 2 years. So now I'm able to buy really cheap shoes and things like that. So I'm excited about that. But the most important thing is I had a car crash. Let's see. I had a car crash in 2017, as you can see here on the left. I was the third car in line out of 4 cars that got hit by this semi during a full load of steel. The first person in line actually passed away, and the 3 of us that were in front of them actually didn't do that well here. So this is where I got my traumatic brain injury. Was basically my truck is in the foreground. It went up the wall and came back down. Paramedic actually took this photo for me. So that's what happened as far as the occurrence with my brain injury. So the middle picture is my impression of Darth Vader. Not the way, but anyways. So over the 6 years prior to going carnivore, I had issues of vertigo. If I closed my eyes like I am right now while standing, I would literally fall flat on my face. I couldn't go down corridors, and because vertigo would start to take over, and I would get dizzy and fall over. I would have severe headaches and migraines after about 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours a day. I would have to basically go to sleep because of the issues and complications with this brain injury. So over time, it got a little bit better. I went to 2 years of therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. Thankfully, my wife is an occupational therapist, so that did help some, but it never fully resolved. I still had these issues. I still continued also with a motor tic. So once my brain was overloaded to a certain point, my head would jerk uncontrollably as if I had Tourette's syndrome. So that was incredibly embarrassing, and I didn't know how to fix that. I just resolved myself that I'm going to live with this, right? But here, lo and behold, I go on the carnivore diet, not expecting any of this to get resolved whatsoever. And 5 months in, it gradually got better. And 5 months in, I realized I'm not getting dizzy anymore. I'm not having these headaches anymore. I don't have this motor tic anymore, and it's completely 100% gone. My brain is 100% healed now. Some people, like Kerry, will question whether it's fully healed or not, and my wife. But I can reassure you that things are much better. So that's a little bit about me, and because of what has happened with me and all the health issues that I have healed by eating a proper human diet, I was so inspired by Kerry's story and his declaration that he wanted to start this documentary. That whatever I can do to help, I'm all in 100%. I said, if you want me to sweep the floors, I'll sweep the floors. It doesn't matter to me. I'm all in 100%. So that's why I'm here, and that's it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. That was incredible. Like, I'm really excited for our documentary. I believe it's going to help millions of people. And not because we're patting ourselves on the back, it's just some of these stories are so powerful, want to be told. And Adam is really taking things to the next level for us in terms of cinematography. So thank you, Adam. Next up, we've got Alex Cannon, my brother from the UK. We interviewed Alex for the documentary, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. It was next level. This picture, by the way, I carried around with me. I was fortunate to go on Dr. Berry's channel. I showed Dr. Berry, I showed Dr. Chafee, I showed Dr. Kiltz, and I'm like, oh, I X'd out to 65. You're 66 now, right? I X'd out to 65, and I'm like, guess how old this guy is on the right? And I think Dr. Chafee said 35. I don't know. After Dr. Mr. Hampton was my favorite. He said, "Woo wee!" Right there. So, shout out Alex.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you all here today. Building humanity, inspiring stories. My story, like most stories, we have a good bit and not so good bit. I think it's right, isn't it? My story started in 2008. Things happened, a couple of milestones. I turned 50, and then was offered early retirement, which against my better, wishes. I didn't want to leave the job, but the offer was too good to be true. So August, I was 50. September, I had retirement. And then in December, I had a new replacement knee. So it wasn't all going well. The knee problem was the thing because I struggled with weight. At the time, I was 210 pounds, which is 15 stones, I think. I'll make sure it says pounds. And I wasn't in a good place consciously or subconsciously. I was down. I had no direction, but I took the retirement, stopped being on the sports to have a new knee, but I hadn't planned for it and I just didn't know what to do next. So what did I do? I started drinking a lot more. It became a bit of a reward, a stress buster, and I would spend midweek, one day, as they say in the States, and I would get a bottle of wine out. My wife would be on shift back. Second bottle of wine because I was bored. Obviously the weight started going up and up. So I could never get down from about 203 pounds in weight. At the time, when I look back, I'm horrified about my health situation. I wasn't struggling mentally, but I had two beautiful kids, a beautiful wife. I lost most of my family to bereavement, but my wife's family took me on board, so I had three brand new sisters. But my weight was horrendous. It was 210 pounds. I'm only 5'9" now because I'm older. But I was 5'10" in 2008. I was on 3 blood pressure medications. I remember saying to my doctor, Dr. Silverfield, I want to come off these. And what he said to me was, Alex, you are on these for life. And me being, bowing to authority, I accepted what he said. But I just got depressed. Many side effects from that. Drinking too much, which doesn't help with your BP medications. And I had serious acid reflux, so I was on omeprazole as well. So lots of medications, overweight, only 5'10". I wasn't in a good place. I had psoriasis. I think when I look back now, the psoriasis, I think it was stress related. And my clothes size, which I like to brand out today, was 2XL. On the NHS matrix, I was obese. I think they called it morbidly obese at that time. I used to pretend it wasn't happening. That was the thing I did all the time. My clothes size was 2XL. Now, I put them on today, I look like a little boy. So I'm proud about that. So the start, in 2008, I wasn't in a good place at all. Had no direction, had no motivation. When you've got the most beautiful wife in the world and you've got the most amazing kids, why would you be like that? Well, now I know. I didn't know at the time. So let's move forward to 2016. I was trying to get fit again, but I remember being on a whole food diet. It was 80% plant-based, 20% protein. I want to say protein, it was lean protein. I was a good boy, I listened to the government, I trimmed the fat off everything. Didn't have steak because where I'm from in Liverpool, we couldn't afford it. But we had chicken, we took all the skin off religiously. I prided myself on a whole food diet. Never had processed food, never went to McDonald's, made sure my kids got the best food they could. But I'm not knocking whole foods, which are not carnivore, but I couldn't get the connect to why am I overweight? I'm eating the so-called best diet on the planet. I'm miserable. I just didn't get the connect at all. So in 2016, I'm inflamed, I'm bloated, I'm still about 210 pounds. I started getting IBS. I definitely know that. A question for the audience: does anyone know what a diastasis recti is? Put your hand up if you know. Well, that ladies, now this is a very common issue with pregnant women. The stress, the pressure. It's very common that you can split your linear album, which is the ligaments which hold your abs together. Well, guess who got a diastasis recti? My delight. I used to write to people that I had so much fibre in it. I was going to the bathroom for a sit down 2 or 3 times a day. And I knew other people who were the same. They'd say to me, yeah, perhaps the best, isn't it? I remember clearly one night on the bathroom floor in a fetal position, as I was dying. I actually strained so hard on the toilet, I actually split my best to stretch time. I can't describe the pain, but I actually thought I was dying. I mean, I've never told my son, my son's in the autistic state. It was a horrendous time, but me being me, I kept it to myself. I didn't tell my wife because I didn't want to upset her. After people was dying. So I recovered that night, but I noticed for the next couple of months, my belly was starting to feel like alien. You know, it looked like alien, if you remember alien. I started getting a ventral hernia. Went to my doctor and he said, you might have stress time, it's not very common. And 12 months it took me to get Bennington for the operation. So I had my arch reconstructed, lost about stone in weight from pre-op. But guess what? I didn't change anything. I didn't change my diet. I carried on drinking against all the advice, and things never changed. So my plan was diet-based, but it didn't do me any favors. I'm not nothing vegetarian or vegan, but for me in particular, it just didn't help me. Something had to change. 2020 came along, but we all know what happened in 2020. I won't touch on that because we've all got our different views on it. But by that time, I'm still 210 pounds, not happy, chatty, and my mental and physical health was deteriorating. I didn't know who to go to. My job was so supportive, and I was starting to get really into that dark place that Kerry's talked about, having other carnivores. With me in particular, I didn't realise what was happening. So, to finish off that year, we lost all our work, we were both self-employed, and I was ready to jump off a bridge. Almost, actually, I didn't feel like that. The worst thing for us was Michelle's dad passed away unexpectedly, and they called into hospital with COPD. I had lots of opinions on it, but he never came out. So by 2020, guys, I was at my lowest point. But so that's the good bits, but there are always good bits, and the best bit for me was in 2022. I'm a YouTube fan. I don't watch mainstream TV. And at that time, I was sitting in my little room, as blokes do, watching TV. And on YouTube, That Fiction, the documentary came up on the screen. So I thought, That Fiction, what's that all about? I'm interested. So that day I watched it, 1 hour 40. Interesting. Some doctors that you probably all know, so people like that. I've never heard of these people. I've never heard of insulin issues, metabolic syndrome. But these medical doctors, if you have a public, going against the grain, they're talking about, different types of diets, which got my interest. So I related to the ketogenic diet. They never mentioned carnivore, so I wasn't interested anyway. So I looked at that documentary, watched it again. Something happened to me. I sat there with my mouth dropping, and I went, I've been doing this wrong for 30 years. This is ridiculous. I'm the chef of the house. I'm poisoning my children, my wife. So me being me, very OCD, right? Jill, 1st of May, we're going to get all the food out the cupboards. We're going to have the food, get it all out. If it's got sugar in, we're not having it. Wasn't really bothered about the carbs. It was about sugar, which I didn't like anyway. Took all the tins out, everything out the fridge, everything out the freezer. Everything, 90% of all our food had sugar in one form or another. I said to Michelle, there's 74 different names for sugar. That's going. We end up with an empty kitchen. So we're nice. We gave our food, which was tins, to our family. Not a nice thing to do, but anything that was perishable, we just did it. So that first week, I didn't know I was on the carnivore diet. I just thought it was this keto thing. The keto, I thought it was Japanese martial arts. I've never heard of anything like that. So I must have been in a closet for years, but I knew I had to change, and that's one thing I talk about a lot. If we don't change, nothing changes, we just carry on loading. So that first week, off to Aldi or Asda, and I got all the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. 7 days into the actual, what's it called, the carnivore diet, I lost 7 pounds of weight. Now, I hadn't lost weight for years, and Michelle turned around to me and said, you're losing weight. And I was like, yeah, no. So she goes, carry on. I said, you haven't snored for a week. I was like, yeah, I know, I haven't snored. I've got no bruises on the ribs anymore. So can you imagine how I felt? I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't doing anything special, but the weight started to should we say, disappeared. It melted off me. All my subcutaneous fat in those first 2 weeks was growing rapidly. Now, I was still a bit skeptical, thinking, do we need to go to the doctor? I'm losing weight too fast. But you know, when you're on a roll, you're on a roll. So no snoring, 7 pounds down the first week, and no acid reflux. I came off my omega straight away. So fortunately for me, although Michelle wasn't going to go along with this, she supported me mentally. So I'm sitting watching the YouTube again, and because the algorithms of YouTube, thank goodness, Dr. Baker turned up. Now I'm standing there, UK citizen, watching this guy, baseball cap, bodybuilder. He ain't no doctor. There's no way. He knows nothing. He ain't no doctor. He's walking through the woods, you know, by his home. That's a big house. But you know, you're intrigued because my doctor didn't look like him. So I watched a couple of his videos, still about 5% skeptical, but I was getting results. Dr. Baker turns up, huge library, completely different character from Tennessee. I really wanted Dr. Baker. It's like Dr. Baker, and I started tons and tons of videos. Went through that first month of May, found Dr. Chafee and some crazy guy from New York who was a baseball camp. He's in this room today, Dr. Kiltz. So they were my four horsemen of the apocalypse. I just embraced those doctors because they were medical professionals. Even though we were from the States, well, and I couldn't find it in the UK, but I was on a mission, I was on a journey. My weight drop continued. In the first 12 months, I went down to about 161 pounds in the first 12 months. I actually put a Facebook post on the 14th of December 2022, which is weird. So I'm on it now. I suddenly realised I'm on a carnivore diet. I just couldn't believe it. So it's beef, bacon, butter, and eggs all the time. Positives, I was sleeping like a grizzly bird, as they say in the States, but I was sleeping like a baby, guys. Sleep, if you got good sleep, that is priceless. And I had slept well for many, many years, mainly because the acid reflux. And again, my energy levels were going through the roof. I was 63, and I'm thinking to myself, I feel like I'm only 30s again. I just can't believe what's going on. Started telling everybody, boring people to death. As soon as you mention Carnivore, the rail goes up, you know, the tumbleweed goes across. And so I was getting frustrated with that, but it didn't stop me. So how can you stop if you get all these positive health benefits? So BP went down to normal, blood pressure. I came off all my BP medications. I was feeling like Superman. I feel like Superman. So off all my medications, gone down from a 2XL down to an XL, down to a large, and today I wear medium clothes. Now, I only wore medium clothes in the 20s. I got over the fact that it definitely wasn't having problems with weight loss. It was all to do with the carnivore diet. The guy we see today, guys, is not the guy who survived 3 years ago. I was in a mess. I was in a terrible state. I blamed all my issues, and I think a lot of people in society do, on my age. I didn't blame it on the diet. Not many people do. My doctor didn't support me. I'm not blaming him. But when I got to 60, I was like that. Is that it? Is this all there is? Part of it's my own fault because I wasn't motivated and I wasn't doing, I wasn't doing enough research. But thank goodness for YouTube. That fiction changed my life. I'm decades younger today. I mean, my wife and my son and daughter, they know their dad is on a roll. On a roll. I'm thinking about when I'm in my 70s, my 80s, my 90s. I know there's one swim teacher in the UK who's in his 80s, and that's my next goal. I still want to be working actively when I'm in my 80s. I'm 66 now, and I'm the oldest swim teacher in town. All the others are in the 20s, but when you see me with those other swim teachers, guys, you would think I was the youngest one in the room. Today I'm standing with 32-inch waist. I can put my thumb down it as well. I used to have 38, which I couldn't get the thumb down. I used to wear a 46 to 48-inch jacket. This is a 40. So I'm really proud to brag about that today, guys. And all I can say again is I feel decades younger. To finish off, I would probably say that carnivore is not the solution for everybody. It's a solution. But I think it's a solution for millions and millions, probably billions of people out there who are prepared to change. Sometimes we don't know we need to change, but I'm blessed that I made that decision and I stuck with something. Unless I find something else which is better, which I honestly don't think I will, I'm definitely going to be a carnivore. Thank you.
Alex Cameron. Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Next up, we got Coach Steven. Coach Steven really knows his stuff. Thank you so much, Coach Steven. Really appreciate it.
We'll keep that up, Alex, because that's right.
Which side?
Oh, that's me. Okay, thank you. And I won't go over time because we've got Richard later. Yeah, it's next. But 2 months ago, I decided to do an experiment. I know it's supposed to be inspirational, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update. I've got a continual glucose monitor. And I decided to go back to the stuff I used to eat when I thought I was doing everything right. So this is pretty new. I was going to do a clickbaity sort of thumbnail and say I quit and get everyone to think I've quit Carnivore. Actually, I'm quitting the experiment. I went back to oatmeal and bananas and honey, fruit and honey. Sounds like somebody else, so I talk about that. And it's ruined me. Just 2 months of going back to carbohydrates. And then we're going to hook into the proper story in a second. But lovely Robert Kiltz looked at me and went, yeah, you look terrible. And it's true. It's true. In 2 months of carbohydrates, I gained weight, my skin's gone bad, my sleep's gone bad. I feel like cataracts coming. It's just been an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. And so now we'll go into the actual story. So in my 20s, I followed the food guidelines absolutely to the T. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I was very active. I won a tennis tournament. And I'm going to just do a little tangent actually, because the reason we do this job is because it's incredibly powerful and inspirational. I'm going to get a little bit emotional now. Everyone knows, I think, when they watch my stuff, that I am deaf, I get reads, and I wear hearing aids. And then I get somebody come up to me and say, you know, my son's got his hearing back. He doesn't wear his hearing aids anymore. You know, he had 75% hearing loss, and then he had 50% hearing trying popped in the rest of that. And that happens every single week. That's why I'm here, by the way. Not to tell you my story, actually, because I just like meeting people and hearing these great stories. But anyway, so when I was 20, I believed absolutely everything. And I was very active, semi-professional footballer. I won a tennis tournament, and and I really thought I knew what I was doing. And I was pretty fit, like I say. I had a school record for 800 meters, so I was naturally quite athletic. And everything was going really well, really, really well. And then I got into my 30s, and I started to do running and all this sort of stuff. I was still avoiding red meat. I was still avoiding saturated fat. I was eating oatmeal every single morning. I was having skimmed milk on that. I was having honey. I was having fruit. I was having veg. And I was doing what I now realise many influencers are doing, and they're outrunning this bad diet. Because if you're very active, you can get away with it, but it will catch up with you. And that's why I wanted to go back to what has happened in the last 2 months. It's not a free pass. Once you've been carnivore for 2 years, doesn't mean you'll put it through. Because if you go back to your old place, you'll get your old things back. That definitely will happen. So, where's my inspiration story? Well, I got to my 40s, and this is when it went south. It really did go very bad. I'd lost my mother and my father, and actually a girlfriend to breast cancer. By the time I was 23, and I lost my hearing, I'd lost my job, and I'd lost my house and everything, actually. I thought a lot of things, but when I got to my 40s, the worst thing that ever happened to me was sitting in a room after I'd had my colonoscopy because I died of bottom pain. And I just assumed that genetics was everything, and I was going to die of carrying cancer, just like my mum died of cancer. And she'd followed the guidelines. So I really was absolutely convinced. I can remember that day, I can remember looking around, I can even remember someone being told that I had cancer in the bed opposite. And I couldn't believe it because I thought, I have literally done everything that they have told me to do. We all know who they are. I've avoided fat. It was all low fat. It was, it was everything that you should do. And here I was, low left bottom pain, colonoscopy, thinking I had colon cancer. And it was incredible. At that point, I was also an advanced personal trainer, and I had somebody who was type 1 diabetic, and they wanted to get to the Olympics. And I had quite a good reputation as a personal trainer. I did manage to get to the Olympics, by the way, it's Jacqueline Trump. And she had type 1 diabetes. And I wanted to know what was going on with me, but also how to train as a person. So I studied to be a specialist practitioner in diabetes and obesity. What was really strange was all of the things that were happening to me. I was doing the activity, but I was still getting better. I was pre-diabetic, lower left quadrant pain, coronary artery calcium scan 639. Once I started studying diabetes and obesity, it was really interesting because I was let loose eventually in the public, and the only people that were doing really well were ignoring it. Because I was telling them the food guidelines, and they were getting nowhere. Every so often, someone would walk in, and I'd say, "Wow, you look great." And I used to be a certain weight, and they would, "What are you doing?" And they all say, "Ignoring you. We are ignoring you, and we are just doing this thing called low carb." Carnivore wasn't around at the time. Keto wasn't really sort of that popular either. And after about the 10th person, I thought, wow, I've got this all wrong. I have got this all wrong. Everyone's got this all wrong. Now, you have to do continual professional development. And I can remember being in a lecture room very similar to this, actually. And we were talking about, the tutor was talking about dosing insulin in relation to the amount of carbohydrates coming in to the person. And I put my hand up and I said, wouldn't it just be easier to drop the carbohydrates? And literally everybody in this room, this sort of number, were like, "You're an idiot." Yeah. But to me, it seems so obvious. And when you say it like that, if you're dosing medication in relation to carbohydrate intake, maybe we should look at carbohydrate intake, but we didn't do it. So anyway, I got to 50 and I thought, well, I'll give it a try because it seems to be working for other people. Seems to be working really well, and I went low carb and a bit. You're going to hear very similar stories. I think, a bit like Alex, everything started to improve. Absolutely everything. You know, my body composition got better, my sleep got better, my vision got better, and my skin got better. I used to have a big stress spot. You know, it looked like someone got a strawberry and smacked it against my forehead. All of these things got better, and I couldn't believe it. So then I went keto. I did like 3 years of low carb, then did a couple of years of keto. Then I got to age 55, and again the same names came up: Sean Baker, in there, Dr. Kiltz. I will even mention Eric Berg, actually, who's not carnivore, but I think his information is pretty good. Kerry, and it was amazing. I thought, well, hang on a minute, there's a few people here talking about taking all the veg out. Surely not. So I got to age 55, and I took all the veg out. Boy, did that make a difference. Carnivore really, really made a difference. At this point, I'd also trained to be a phlebotomist, and I was doing all my bloods, and within 3 months, my testosterone at 55 went up by 51%. So, to me, I had all the numbers, I had the qualifications, but again, I'm going to go back to people because it's all about people. The stories of real people were incredible. I was coaching people. I've been in rehab for 15 years, a decade of blood testing. Training people when they were high carb was an absolute failure. It really was. It just didn't work. Yes, I had some successes, and like I say, that person with type 1 diabetic obviously did really well. But when I went to Carnivore, it was a game changer for not just me, but people that I coached. And I don't always recommend Carnivore for people straight off, but most people sort of gravitate towards it. Because as you take the carbs out, you start feeling better. It seems like the obvious thing to try. And you're right, it might not suit everybody, but I tell you what, getting as close to carnivore as possible does tend to be the thing that is a game changer. If I'm allowed to use that phrase when we're talking about films and documentaries, because it really is genuinely that. It is a game changer. But the consideration for me is I got to 1,000 clients, and I couldn't believe that. Not to big myself up, it's just to say that, you know, the stories are incredible. I might get a little bit emotional, but yeah, every single week I get a story that matters. and it is all about nutrition. I'm thinking of quite a few people at the moment. One that had 2 weeks to live in 2019, and I'm still coaching them, so I think they've got that diagnosis wrong. And it is what it's all about, changing your health with such a simple thing as nutrition. It is really frustrating. I hate what's going on at the moment with the narrative and big food and big pharma. I think when I first joined up with Sean Baker, I thought he was too political, but it is a political thing to talk about food and talk about health. There's so much money being wasted, there's so many people sick, and we need to do something. So I'm going to take my hat off to Kerry and to Alex for putting this together, because it's really worth telling this story over and over again, getting as many people on board to tell their stories, to be inspirational for everybody. You know, it's wonderful to see people that come in with sparkly shoes, but people that get out of their hearing aids, changing their life. Everybody that you're going to hear is going to talk about changing their life, and I think, you know, I'm just really proud to be here, and yes.
Coach Stephen, thank you so much. By the way, for those that are watching on the stream or afterwards, we have links in the description below for all of these good speakers, including Coach Stephen, life changer. I don't think there's any bigger calling on this planet than being able to have someone get a second chance at life. And Coach Stephen is helping a lot of people do that. Thank you so much, Coach Stephen. Next up, we have Richard Smith, and Richard was on a live stream with us about a week ago. And you said something, Richard. I think you said prior to doing Carnivore, your anxiety was so bad, you couldn't write a check for $1 million to get you up here on the stage. Right? So I'm glad to hear that's changed. Hopefully, don't want to go.
Funny you should mention that, actually. This is exactly what my talk is about. But first of all, great to see you guys here. Thank you to Kerry and Adam for the invitation to come speak today. I feel absolutely honoured to share the stage with legends of the nutrition world. I don't know about you guys, but I felt incredibly motivated and inspired by the stories that I've heard already today. I think mine's going to pale in comparison to some of these incredible stories, but let's give it my best shot. Apologies, I'm going to try to stick to 10 minutes with this. So, this used to be me. I was clinically obese, type 2 diabetic, chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, arthritic pains, daily debilitating migraines would make me blind, which I was on 3 different medications for. I had incredibly bad skin, which I'll show you another picture later, which I used to wear makeup. I used to wear my sister's makeup to hide the problems that I had in my skin. The conditions go on and on. I mean, I think most of us can probably attest to at least one of these things. So by a show of hands, who can attest to at least one of these things that are on the screen there? So I think that's almost everybody, yeah. This was my diet. Yes, I consumed food that was off food pyramid and off eat well. Yes, I consumed takeaways, but I actively tried to consume healthy foods. And the basis of my diet was grains and vegetables. Even when I gravitated into a ketogenic way of living, I predominated vegetables because vegetables contain all of the vitamins and minerals that we need. Now, the worst thing for me was that I was suffering severely with anxiety and depression. So much so that my entire life was spent living in my house, my box, if you like. Now, I wouldn't leave my box other than to go to work. And when I left my box, if anyone were passing the street, if there was a neighbour in the street, I would not leave my house until they had gone. Now, many people used to think that this was because I was rude, but it's because I never felt worthy of the company of others. I was never good enough to be around people. So my life was spent living in boxes. The only time I would leave was when I jumped into my car, my metal box. I would drive my metal box to my place of work, another box. I would spend my time inside this small box, inside a bigger box. And this is going to get really deep. I remember standing in my office one day thinking, I'm just a man standing inside a box, inside a bigger box. And this was my life. My life was spent living in boxes, in fear of coming out of my box. Now, this was quite literal for me. I was living in boxes continuously, but this could mean anything. This could be somebody trying to run a 5K for the first time, changing their diet, seeing loved ones, friends and family more often. Whatever your goals are, it's about breaking boxes. We're designed to break boxes. We shouldn't be confined to our boxes. And that's what I do for a living now. I break boxes for a living. And I teach others to do the same. So a super long story short, I'm not going to get into as much detail as it would be here for many, many more hours. But I saw 107 pound fat loss. I reversed my diabetes. Everything else completely medication free. Most importantly, I was now depression and anxiety free. Now, all of these things occurred within 12 months of gravitating into this way of living. And I did so via incremental changes. I didn't wake up deciding to be a carnivore. I didn't even know what carnivore was. I had no training in nutrition. So I knew the bread ordered me. So I removed the bread. Purely for aesthetic purposes, because I thought if I can remove the bread and reduce the bloat, then I wouldn't appear to be so overweight. But something miraculous happened. Within 2 months, I lost 28 pounds. I wasn't 28. 28 pounds, so 2 stone in 2 months. And then I learned more about the low carb ketogenic lifestyles. Through incremental changes from low carb to dirty keto, to a standard keto, clean keto, strict keto, and now eventually carnivore. So my journey has taken place for well over a decade. I've been on a ketogenic journey for 10, 12 years, I lose count. Out of that, I've been carnivore for 5 to 10. There's no going back for me, but what I found when I gravitated into this way of eating is I lost a lot of weight. I probably looked ill to many people, but I felt the best I felt. I had friends and family concerned because of the weight loss, doctors concerned because I was eating red meat, so on and so forth. I was incredibly lean. I'd lost 107 pounds, I 7.5 stone. So I was quite literally, so at my peak, I was 17 stone. So this image that I showed you in the beginning, if we can get back to it, when this decides to work a little bit quicker. In fact, let's just not go back. I'm back stuck. So look, that image that I showed you, which I think we got coming up again. When I was in that picture, I was 14 stone, but at my peak I was 17 stone at my peak. I didn't have any pictures taken after that because I couldn't bear to see myself. And in fact, it crept up on me. I didn't realize that I was so overweight. I didn't realize I was so fit. And I think this is quite common with many people who tend to gravitate into this size without real understanding or noticing that you're gaining this weight and becoming sicker. But this is what happened. These all occurred within 12 months. This, full disclosure, took 4 to 5 years, but I put it up outside. So beyond this, I began training. Now, I was incredibly skinny. I started to train because I had no energy. I started to build muscle at an incredible rate. An absolutely incredible rate. I almost got back up to the same weight that I was when I was clinically obese. I eventually became a professional bodybuilder. So I became British champion and eventually European champion. And I'm not saying that because I want you guys to think, oh, this is incredible, this all crap. This journey through changing my lifestyle quite literally saw me from being unable to walk up a flight of stairs, but without stopping or being severely out of breath, to becoming #1 in Europe as a professional sportsman. I did say I was 14 stone at my peak. I was 17. And I'm not telling you this again because I want the applause. It's because any one of us could do this. I'm not genetically gifted, as we can see as we move on. I'm considerably smaller now. I've come away from bodybuilding because it's not healthy. I'll explain why maybe later if we get time. But now I've gravitated into running, endurance sports, and now I'm going to venture into competing in high rocks. So this is why I'm considerably smaller. But these images were taken 50 years apart. And you can see the image on the right, incredibly inflamed. I've actually got boils all over my face, and this was me on a good day. I'm wearing makeup there. This was me on a night out. So I think I look considerably younger in the image on the left than I do. It's certainly healthier, certainly far less inflamed. So this was done on an in-body composition machine. My body fat percentage in that picture that I showed you earlier, ripped and shredded, was 3%, which took place for 2 weeks after I competed in one of the European Championships. So I was probably around about 2% during this. I was carrying around 2.3 kilograms of fat in my entire body. And this is incredible. This isn't healthy, by the way. It's not healthy to be this lean. This is why I've gravitated, but it was fit for purpose. I had a goal to achieve, I had a box I wanted to break, and I broke that box and managed to achieve my goals. And there it is within, I think it was the British Championship or one around that time. But changing my diet is what allowed me to do this. I've always tried to train throughout my life, and the big factor was changing my diet, but I'm not genetically gifted. This was my dad. He died in his 60s of heart complications. I didn't know him very well because he left when I was 3, but you can see me in his face. This was my destiny. This is where I was heading. This is what my genes were telling me that I was designed to become. But I decided to beat my genes. Everybody says it's in my genes. Everyone says it runs in my family. That's rubbish, because we can beat our genes, right? It's got epigenetics. I'm not going to go into too much in science today. You can catch up with Stephen and I's lives if you want to get into more detail. But epigenetics, in simple terms, many of us only access part of our DNA. Through epigenetics, we can tap and we can quite literally flip the switch and become fit and healthy. We can become the best versions of ourselves. And in simple terms, on a daily basis, we take photocopies of our DNA. So this is the DNA. It's called the chromatin. It's tightly wrapped around histone proteins. And this allows photocopies. So each and every one of us takes photocopies of our DNA in the form of mRNA, which is sent to another part of the cell called ribosome. So as it runs through this ribosome, it's a machine that reads the code. So these pillars are nucleotides. Collectively, they call codons. And they signal the attraction of certain amino acids, which we get from animal proteins, by the way. So we consume animal proteins. These break down into amino acids. And as we copy this mRNA and run it through the ribosome, they attach chains of amino acids, which are called peptides. And these peptides go on to heal and repair every single cell within our body. This happens countless amounts of times today in each and every one of us. Now, our epigenetics controlled predominantly by diet. I put 75% of that, but I would argue is considerably higher. And what we want to do to enable this is to have our DNA to be open and available for expression. Again, I'm not going to get too much into detail with this, but there are certain things that will prevent this. These plants they have genotoxic effects. They cause clustergenesis. They damage DNA, and meat does the opposite. Meat heals. In fact, meat is the only thing that we know that will increase the length of the telomeres. I'm not going to get too much into the science of the say, but look, the simple answer is just eat meat. It's as simple as that. So if it's 3 words you take away from today, just eat meat. And it is as simple as this. Now, I'll wait for time. Awesome. Now, I tested this at an event that I spoke at recently, which I think a lot of you can attest to. So I gravitated into this way of living. I saw incredible benefits. I went back to my doctor. I was like, hey, doc, look, I've lost all this weight. I'm super fit and healthy. I'm eating these animal proteins. And he said to me, red meat causes cancer. Saturated fats clog your arteries. You're too skinny. You look unhealthy. You're going to have to go back to eating the way that you consumed previously, which is what led me to being unfit and unhealthy. So I left the surgery feeling a little bit despaired. I felt ostracized, isolated, and alone. I went home, my friends and family. Look, guys, look at all this weight I've lost. I'm super happy. I feel the best that I ever felt in my life. They said the same thing. You've lost too much weight. Red meat causes cancer. Saturated fats will clog your arteries. You need to go back to eating the foods that you were previously. This made me feel ostracized, isolated, and alone. Even today, friends and family go on holidays. They go out for meals. I no longer get invited. Like the freak that eats meat that nobody wants to invite along. And again, even to this day, this has led me to feel ostracized, isolated, and alone. I wonder, everyone in this room, by a show of hands, or in fact, let's stand up, if any of you can attest to any of the things that I've just said there, all the list of things that I mentioned in the first slide, stand up for me. And remain standing. Big portion. Guys, take a look around. This is our community. This is our community. We are no longer home. Thank you.
Richard Smith. Light bulbs, that picture up there, light bulbs, that's incredible. Like I said, for those that are watching on the stream, we have a link to Richard's YouTube channel, to Coach Stevens, everyone that's speaking, so go support them. It's got to be a grassroots sort of effort, get the word out there. And Rich not only practices what he preaches, but man, you know your stuff. We did a couple live stream with these guys, and some of the questions they're tossing at you, you guys are just nailing them. So really appreciate you. Thank you so much. So next up, we have Lauren Tucker. We interviewed Lauren for the documentary yesterday. She was interview number 40, and she had me tearing up like 3 or 4 times. Her story is absolutely incredible. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi everybody, I'm Lauren. We run a dairy farm in Somerset. When I say we, that's me and my husband. And we have 3, I say young children, we have 11, 7 and 5. So, you know, a little bit of a range. So my story started back in 2021, the end of 2021. I suddenly developed a lump in my throat. I was struggling to swallow. It just felt like I had an obstruction there. Every time that I did swallow, I just felt like I couldn't quite get it down. So back then, doing what I used to do, I just go to the doctors, and I sat in the doctor's office, and he had a look down my throat, and he said it could potentially be acid reflux, but it could also potentially be strep throat. We don't know which it is, so we're going to give you medication for both to cover what it could potentially be. So I came away with a metrazole, which I'm sure many people are aware of, which is a PPI, an acid blocker for the acid reflux. And I also came away with antibiotics for strep. So I came away all happy, thinking, right, great, I'm going to be healed like in 2 days or something. Came home, started taking both medications straight away, and within a week, I think it took about a week, I was just worse than I actually was in the beginning. So at this point, I realised something's not quite right. It's definitely not the strep throat if the antibiotics aren't working. It could potentially be the acid reflux, but I still wasn't sure. So I phoned the doctor, and they didn't want to see me. They just spoke to me over the phone. And they said, I think the best thing that we can do for you is to double the strength of your omeprazole. So instead of taking just 1 in the morning, now take 2 in the morning. So again, great. Yeah, I'm feeling happy. I think this is what's going to cure me. So start taking the 2 omeprazole. Again, I left it about a week and not feeling any better. And I'm just getting worse and worse and worse. And at this point, everything that I'm eating, I'm starting to react to. So every meal, all of a sudden my eyes start swelling. All of a sudden, I'm like having ulcers in my mouth, swollen glands, and just everything was going wrong. And I was just feeling worse and worse as time went on. Again, I phone the doctor, and I say, what's going on? And they say, we think we better put you in for a camera down the throat, an endoscopy. So great, yeah. So go in and have my endoscopy. I had sedation to make the process more comfortable. After the endoscopy, I was sent on my way. Bear in mind, I was a little bit, from the sedation, I wasn't quite with it. I wasn't completely out of it, but I just wasn't quite with it. My husband was waiting outside to pick me up in the car. I got in the car and he says, well, how did you get on? And I'm like, oh, I don't know actually. Nobody's said anything to me. I don't actually know, but I've got this piece of paper that I've come away with. So we open the piece of paper, and there it says that I have this grade A esophagitis and lesions. So I wasn't even explained to like what this even is. I have no idea. I have no medical background. I have no idea what esophagitis is. I have no idea what lesions are. But it did say that they had taken biopsies of it. So as soon as I saw the word biopsies, I'm like, that's bad. So I get home and I ring the hospital and I just say, can somebody please explain to me what my diagnosis was? I have no idea. So they said, yeah, you've got grade A esophagitis. I did actually look it up on Google before, so I had a little bit of an idea of what the esophagitis was, where the acid reflux is coming back up, and it's just basically scarred my throat, my esophagus. It's just scarred it, and the tight feeling that I was getting was just where it was scarred and kind of like closed up. So they said that's what it is. We took the biopsies because we found a couple of lesions that don't look very good, so we want to send those off and get some results from those. So obviously at that time it was a very hard time for me because in my head all I could think of was, oh my goodness, I've got cancer, and that was all I could think of then for a little while. I also had to say to them, right, that's very well you give me my diagnosis, but so where do we go from here? What do we do about this? So they said the medication that you were on, the omeprazole, that is the answer to healing your problem. And I'm thinking, is it? I've been on these omeprazole now for weeks and nothing's changed. I'm just getting worse and worse. So they said, what we'll do is we'll now double your double dose. So I'm now, at this point, I'm currently on 2 omeprazole in the morning, and they then told me to take 2 omeprazole in the evening. So again, I went away doing that, actually thinking maybe I'm somebody who just needs a bit more medication to make me feel better. But I just had such trust in the doctors, like whatever they said was gospel to me, and I just thought they had my back, so I'm doing whatever they said. So I went away and done that, and as you can probably guess, nothing happened. I just got worse and worse again, and at this point I just fell into such a deep depression. I wasn't myself. I couldn't eat anything. I was excluded socially. I'm sure many of you can relate. Everything is revolved around food, so I'd be invited out to dinner, I'd be invited around somebody's house, if they come over for dinner, come to a party, they've got a great big spread there, come to a barbecue, and I'm just like, I can't do any of this, I can't eat. At this point, I've gone down to, apologies, I don't know pounds, so I'm going to use stones. I went down to 7.5 stone, sorry. And today I'm 9.5 stone, and I think 9.5 stone is a good weight. If you imagine me 2 stone less than what I am now, I was very skinny. I didn't look good. And my husband actually said at one point, he said, we've got to do something, because he's like, I can see all your spine like through your t-shirt in the back, and it just doesn't look nice. So at this point we knew I was kind of in trouble. So from that moment on, I went to the doctor. I went back to the doctor. At this point, I didn't really know if I wanted to, but I was just in a desperate place. I'd gone into this deep depression. I was waking up every single morning, and my thoughts were, again, sorry if I get emotional, but my thoughts were just, I don't want to wake up. That's how it was. So, sorry. I wasn't looking after my children. I would wake up and come down, sit on the sofa. I'd ignore them. I was not a good wife. I was not a good mum. And it was just the worst place I was in my entire life. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Yeah, so I went back to the doctor, and I basically broke down like this in the doctor's surgery, and I just said, I begged, I need help. I need somebody to help me. I'm not well. And I just felt like before this point, I'd just been brushed off. And I just broke down in tears, and I said, I can't eat anything. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I'm so like socially excluded. And he had a look on his screen. He saw the medication I was on. And he said, I don't know why you're crying. He said, you're on the medication that should make you better. On omeprazole, you should be able to eat whatever you want to eat and be fine. So at this point, it made me feel worse because I'm like, why me? I'm like, why, if this works for everybody else, why am I taking this much omeprazole and being told that I should be able to eat what I want to eat, which at the time, I will admit, was kind of Western diet. I was eating junk food. Not only junk food, I had like what I would say a balanced diet, but I did have the odd, you know, like Richard was saying, the takeaway, and I had the odd thing. So I was just thinking, why can't I eat what I want to eat and get better? Anyway, so he just said to me, he said, I can tell that you have a bit of anxiety and depression, so we're going to put you on some antidepressants. So from that visit to the doctor, I get given antidepressants. So I come away and I actually start taking these antidepressants because I was desperate. I was going to do absolutely anything. I start taking the antidepressants, and I think about 2 or 3 days in, I just had a moment where I was just like, what am I doing? I'm on these 4 omeprazole, and I'm thinking, these omeprazole aren't even making me feel any better. Why am I taking them? And same with the antidepressants. I know it's only like 2 or 3 days in, but I just had this moment where I was just like, I'm not taking any medication. None of this is making me any better. So from that point, I literally just got all my medication. I just threw it in the bin. I thought, I'm done with this. And I thought, I'm on my own here. I've got to figure out myself how I get myself better because nobody else is helping me. So with that, I decided to search for a nutritionist. So I found a nutritionist who was open to me. She was a naturopath and also a herbalist. And she was great in the beginning. So she was the first person who actually sat me down and felt, she sat me down for about 2 hours and she asked me my whole history of my life. She wanted to know what vaccinations I'd had. She wanted to know past medication, past illnesses. She literally unpicked my whole life in 2 hours. And I came away from there feeling like I've actually been listened to today. Somebody's listened to me, which was something. And that actually that alone made me feel so much better. But she also told me to cut out the gluten and cut out dairy, 2 of the main inflammatory food groups. So I went away and I did that, which I did. I must admit, it took away the lump feeling in my throat. So I thought, I'm on something here. This is helping. But she also told me, again, I think a lot of us can relate to the same thing, to not eat fat. And if I was to eat animal protein, make sure it's chicken. If it's chicken, don't eat the skin. If it's salmon, don't eat the skin. But she basically told me to eat chicken and salmon, nothing else, definitely no red meat. And she said you want a real diverse range of vegetables and grains in your diet. So she had told me that I had a candida overgrowth in my gut, and this was the issue that I needed to sort out. So I come away, I cut the gluten and the dairy, and I literally just went on to this low-fat protein diet, and I was having about 6 or 7 different vegetables a day with my meals, and then just filled with quinoa or rice, all different grains. I had it piled high, and I would eat that meal. I finished the meal, and I could eat that 2 or 3 times a day because I was starving. And remember, at this point as well, I'm still at 7.5 stone, so my body is just physically in a starved state. Because of being starving, I decided that I was going to add porridge oats in. So, and I basically used that as the kind of dessert. So after every meal, because I was still so hungry, I would then make myself a big bowl of porridge with kefir, however anybody says it. And that would make me feel full. And I was doing that 2 or 3 times a day to make me feel like I was something. And on top of that, it was forced upon me by my nutritionist that fibre feeds the good bacteria. So get all the fibre that you can in. And I decided off my own back that I'm going to get fibre supplements as well. So I found this product called inulin, and every meal, every bowl of porridge, I would just take a scoop and I would sprinkle, because I'm feeding this good bacteria, I'm getting this bad bacteria out. So I sprinkle it all with this inulin powder. So it wasn't long after that. I'd never ever suffered with constipation in my life before, but after switching to this diet, all of a sudden I'm constipated. And one day the constipation got so bad, I was just doubled up in pain, and I just did not know what to do with myself. I could not walk. I was in such agony. My husband came in that night from milking, and he was like, "Oh my God," he's like, "What is the matter with you?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I think I've just got really bad constipation." I said, "I'm in so much pain and agony." At this point, I start throwing up. I'm just so bad. And he took me straight to the doctor, to the hospital, to the emergency room. And I got there, and this was actually 10 o'clock at night. I got to the hospital, and in that much pain and throwing up, and I did not get seen till 8 o'clock the next morning. So I eventually went in at 8 o'clock the next morning, and they took me in. She pushed me this side, and she said, "Oh, I think you got appendicitis." So, and I was adamant. I was like, "I don't have appendicitis. It's really bad constipation," because that's just what it felt like to me. I just felt really badly constipated. So I went down, and it did turn out that I had a scan. It was appendicitis. They had to do an emergency operation to take my appendix out. So following the surgery, I get home. I wasn't really recovering very well, but at this point, again, I was really thin. I was weak, and it was about coming up about 4 weeks after my surgery, and I still was really recovering great. I still had bloating, I still had pain, and I did look it up on the internet, and people were saying, "Oh, after like a week of having their appendix out, they were back to work, they were driving," and I'm like, again, why me? It's like 4 weeks, I'm not any better. But anyway, as time went on, I started to pick up a little bit. It was just a long recovery, and I felt like I could start cooking and get up and do things around the house again. So that day I was cooking roast lamb with my family, and I was out in the kitchen preparing the food, and I had to take the lamb out of the oven to baste the lamb, and then that was my moment that was meant to be. That lamb came out, and still to this day I just get lost for words. I don't know how to describe it, but it was a complete, I told you I don't know how to say it. It was just a knowing, and I just had every fibre of my body was just screaming at me, "Eat that lamb, you have to eat that lamb." And then my head goes, no, you can't eat fat. And my nutritionist told me that's the worst thing I can eat, perhaps reflux. And I'm just sort of like in this debate with myself, because I just had it was just such an urge. I have to eat this. Anyway, I didn't eat it, but I ended up going on the internet and I typed in, "Is eating meat really that bad for you?" Just hoping that someone would say, "No, it's not. You can eat that lamb now." So I go on, and of course, like the first lot or the first page of Google is just, "No, you can't. Like, eating meat is really bad. Don't eat it." And then I eventually scrolled down, and I can't even remember what it was, but it was just some sort of thing on the carnivore diet, which I had never even heard of and didn't even have a clue about it. So that sort of got that in my mind. I started reading it, and then that was just, I was reading it all, and I'm just thinking, do you know what? That everything that they're saying there just makes perfect sense. It just sounds so natural, so easy. Like, why haven't we ever thought of this before? Like, why do we think it's normal that we're eating all this junk food that's made in a factory? All these things just started coming to me, and I'm just like, this is right. Like, it just felt so right. So I decided to look into it a bit more. You fall into a bit of you go into a rabbit hole, and you start researching and going more and more and more. So I decided I'm going to go onto YouTube, and this is where I'm forever grateful to Kerry, because I found his I found his 30-day.
You're making me cry too now.
Found his 30-day carnivore video. I watched it, and he had told everybody exactly what he had healed. And I was sat there, and I was just like, I know I've got to do this. This is for me. I have no other option. I have no other. That I'm all out of ideas. I remember at this time I'm like suicidal, so I'm at a desperate state where I need to do something. I saw Kerry's testimonial, and I decided that's it. I'm going straight in. So the next day I woke up and I had lamb chops for breakfast. Luckily we had some in the freezer anyway. So I started straight away, and honestly, it's just the best thing that's ever happened to me. So slowly things just started to go away. The depression, the anxiety. I didn't even know I had anxiety. If you'd asked me that, I would say no, I don't suffer from it. But now I don't have it. I know full well that I used to have anxiety. So it was just things like you just look at the negative side of life. I just couldn't see the positive in anything. So my brain would just naturally go to what's the worst case scenario. And it's actually really just not a nice way to live. And when you're out of the fear, you don't have any fear. I can literally stand here and just say I don't have any fears. I don't live my life in fear. I'm a big believer that everything's meant to happen, everything's meant to be. But when you don't have any fears, you don't get held back because there's nothing there to hold you back. So it's just such a refreshing, like rejuvenating feeling to just have no fear in your life. So I absolutely was crippled with anxiety, but I just had no idea. So that all went away. Another thing that went away was tinnitus. I suffered from tinnitus my whole life. So I was actually I won't go too much into it, so it's in that time now. But I was quite ill growing up, which I just thought was normal. I thought human beings get ill and that's what it is. But I had chronic UTIs. I used to get flu chronic UTIs. I was just on so many antibiotics, constantly ill. And I had tinnitus my whole life. And I actually had that checked out. I paid privately to have it checked out, ENT, and they just said it's something you got to live with and can't do anything. It wasn't until I was on a YouTube channel and I was on somebody's comments and somebody said, oh, my tinnitus went away. And I literally sat there and was like, so it's mine. I can't hear the ringing. So that went away. I've had a whole host of things that, again, I didn't even really know were symptoms. Things like verrucas clearing up in my feet. I had them my whole life. Just general aches and pains, arthritis, Rainham syndrome. Honestly, I've got a whole list of things that just went away and now I have nothing and I'm literally living my best life. And like Kerry said, the main thing overcoming for me was the depression, the anxiety, which I didn't even know I had. Overcoming all of these things, and I can now say that I'm just the best version of myself I've ever been, and there's just no going back.
Anyone else need some tissues? Hey, Lauren, I just have one follow-up question.
Yeah.
It was really touching when you were talking about your depression and not being there as a mom. How has that changed for you?
It's just completely different. So even how I was as a mum before my depression, now I am at the trampoline park with them. They're like, come on, mommy, do this front flip. They're jumping off things, doing front flips. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And I'm just doing all this. I'm the one in the park on the monkey bars doing all these little things. I'm just 100% a better version of myself, so therefore I'm a better mum. And also I've now learned this. And now my kids eat well, and they now know the effects of what the carnivore diet is. They are not carnivore; they are whole foods. I did try the whole carnivore thing, but it was too strict for them, which I understand their kids. So, but they are on whole foods and they are thriving. In fact, we were only saying at dinner the other night with me how diet affects children, and it actually suddenly clicked. And I was like, I went to parents' evening the other day. And the teacher told me about my 5-year-old. He's in a class with 5 and 7-year-olds. And she said, God, what a clever boy you've got. He's reading way ahead of even the 7-year-olds. It didn't even click to me until we were talking about it at dinner. And I'm like, that's probably what I'm feeding him. And we definitely notice if they have school dinners or if we go on holiday when they're not eating quite clean, we notice straight away their behaviour is the number one thing. If they come back and they start being naughty, I'm like, what have they fed you at school today? Because I can just see it straight away. And I think now that their bodies, thankfully, are so healthy now, when they do have a bit of poison, we went on holiday not long ago, and my little boy said, I've got ulcers all on my tongue. And I'm like, yeah, that's the food you're eating. Oh, the food you ate on holiday. So they now, another thing that I'm grateful for, they have the connection of what diet does to them, and then hopefully, God forbid, if they ever run into any problems in the future, they don't have to go through what I went through. They have the answer there, and they will know exactly what to do.
So next up, you may have seen him on the Tammy Peterson podcast. You might have seen him on Dr. Barry. or you may have seen him on his own YouTube channel, Carnivore, Lee Copus. I watched so many of your videos. I really enjoy what you're doing. And yeah, links in the description. Go follow, subscribe, support Lauren's YouTube channel, everyone that's been speaking. Lee Copus.
Thank you, thank you. Great to be here. I haven't got a slide presentation, in fact, I thought I'd just bring a release. So, if you want to know a story, but this funny contraption here, it's a funny thing. It's the reason why I became severely depressed, but it's also the reason why I lied. So, my story, well, it starts back in 2012, I guess, really, when I got my diagnosis with ulcerative colitis. So, it's an inflammatory bowel disease. And I have to wear one of these now permanently to go number 2, unfortunately, because I lost my entire colon in the 20s. And people were saying this carnivore diet is an extreme diet. I would say that losing your colon in your 20s is pretty extreme. And the reason why I lost my colon was because I was eating the wrong stuff. Now, when I went to the doctor with my diagnosis, I think he said that you just need to be eating meat, fat, stay away from the grains, the gluten, the fibre. I think it would have been okay. Because at this point, it was very mild, it was very low end. Could have classed this as proctitis, so it's way, way low down. I wasn't on medication right off the bat, so it's quite manageable. And really, at that point in my life, there was a big room for intervening on my lifestyle, on my diet, things like this. And I think I would have got myself out of trouble. But unfortunately, the mainstream advice, many doctors, Dr. Kiltz and Kerry and checking all these wonderful people, they're not trained in nutrition, so it's all allopathic medicine based. And of course, this by definition is just drugs you take that will mask symptoms, suppress symptoms, might make you feel a little bit better for a short period of time. But these aren't going to address meaningfully your root cause, and the situation isn't going to get any better for you. In fact, a lot of the time, this stuff just exacerbates the issue. And unfortunately for me, I was quite naive and I listened to everything that the doctor said. I put a lot of trust in these people. I went down there, quite worried about my health, presented with bloody diarrhea and very nasty symptoms. And typically you go in and out of what we call flare-ups. And so a flare-up would be, those symptoms come back, feel run down. You lose your confidence, you're going to the toilet quite a lot of the time in the day, and you wouldn't want to stray too far from your house, where I live in the garden in Kent. You're kind of stuck sometimes, for toilets. And as a window cleaner, I didn't really like to impose on people. I didn't want to ask them, can I use your toilet? Things like this. And so I would try and do my best, but I was quite lucky really. I never really had any sort of seriously unfortunate accidents and things like this. But the advice was, you've got this bowel disease, it's in your digestive tract. We're going to talk about drugs. We're going to talk about the fact that it's in your genes, it's hereditary. You're an unfortunate individual, but we do have medication to treat this, and we do advise that you go home and you eat a lot of fibre. So the stuff that we don't digest, basically, would pull. We may as well just eat anything, really, cardboard and plastic. We can't digest that. Gluten, they never check me for gluten. I think it's criminal. I can't believe what now. One of the first things what I would ask my patient would be, what is your lifestyle like? What's your diet like? Tell us about your history. And let's try and manage your diet. The problem for me was really grains, and much like Richard said, my diet was based around grains. And to come away from the doctor thinking, I'm just an unfortunate individual, unlucky me, but there is drugs. And the answer potentially could lie in my diet, but coming from the other end of things, eat more plants, whole plant foods. That way you're going to get lots and lots of fibre, whole grains, etc. And so I based all my meals around whole grains: breakfast, porridge oats with fruit, whole fruit, goji berries. They're a superfood. Never seen goji berries grow in Kent, but they're eating goji berries every morning, thinking I'm doing something special. Lunchtime comes, I'm eating whole grain sandwiches, and, nut infused bread and seeds and all that kind of stuff. And I did eat animal proteins. I've always believed in animal proteins, but it's much like these have said today, chicken, cod, very lean sources, cutting fat off. I didn't even like the fat. I almost became conditioned to eat lots of carbs, lots of sugary foods, things that would taste sweet or break down to sugars. And I was eating multiple meals per day. And something actually, in addition to just this typical dietary advice when you have a colon issue, for example, eat loads of fibre, little and often. So just eat constantly. Don't give your gut where you have a problem any rest whatsoever, just little and often. So I was typically having
5 small meals per day. I remember snacking on almonds, thinking that was a superfood, and everything was getting worse. And so, 2 years go by, I go back down to the doctors again because I'm thinking it's getting out of control. I can't really manage this very, very easily. They said, well, okay, you're doing the right things, but we've got some medication for you. And I can't remember the name. It was basically steroids, a very typical steroid treatment drug for IBD. Now, these were pretty miraculous at first. I would say for perhaps 6 to 9 months, I was quite fortunate to be on this drug, in my opinion, because it lowered the frequency in which I was going to the bathroom. I gained a bit more confidence. I could leave the house and clean windows and get a good day in. And I thought, man, this is pretty good. But slowly but surely, things got worse again. And I was very, very conscientious about lots of grains, lots of colours, right? So I'm probably deficient in red or something like that. And so this is what I was doing. I was taking the medication, and things continued to get worse. And it was 3 years of doing this, following their advice to a T. I had a flare, the last one, but I almost knew it was the last one. So typically I would have gone to the toilet 7 times, perhaps close to the beginning. Lots of blood, you're losing strength, you're losing muscle, iron, electrolytes. I thought a bad flare was going to the toilet 15, maybe 20 times a day. And that's obviously quite extreme. You go to and from the toilet 20 times a day and you see blood every single time. It's far from normal, it's far from natural. I shouldn't be experiencing this, but this last flare comes along and it hit so fast and so hard. Interestingly, my mum's in the audience. My mum and dad went to the States, and so they thought, yes, he's flaring up, but he's been through this and he looks okay, right? Probably a couple of days of just typical 15 times a day or something. All of a sudden, they're in the States and I'm going to the toilet. Felt like I should have just taken the mattress up and hit up and just lay down in the bathroom because we had a toilet that was just upstairs. And I remember laying down on the couch, I was just shattered, and by the time I got comfy and laid myself down, I was getting signals to go straight to the cups. Going upstairs, every time this journey got harder, I'm feeling weaker. I'm like, it's almost like I became emaciated instantly. Very, very dehydrated, almost quite dizzy, And I'm going up the stairs, going to the toilet, coming back down, getting comfy again, and going up. And it's just relentless. I felt like I was poisoned, and I knew something was seriously wrong. Like, this must be the last time, one way or the other. So anyway, I'm taking this medication as well. I don't want to offend anybody, but medication is coming out. It's nuts. I'm also seeing a little bit of other content that I've not seen before, and at the time I didn't realise what was happening is I was shedding the lining of my colon. It was just coming out of me slowly but surely to the point where I would have been in a situation where it perforates, and obviously that's life-threatening. And so when I wound up in hospital, they could see I was in big trouble. I don't think they realised to such a degree until they ran another test camera off there. Very pleasant stuff. And they're looking on the camera since perhaps 3 years ago, which was quite low end, and now it's just riddled all the way up the colon. There was no section of my colon that looked healthy. And they said, well, look, we've got one last result here. We think it's around about 15% chance that you might get out of this hospital with your colon, but you're going to be on serious medication and this kind of thing. So they tried me on this immune suppressor drug. They've been known as very, very dangerous for obvious reasons. You lower your own defences. So their idea behind this is that you've got an autoimmune disease, it's attacking healthy tissue in your colon. So we'll suppress that. It's a bit risky, but let's hope it's much like cancer treatment, chemotherapy and so on, anti-cell, but let's hope it just kills the cancer cell before it kills you. So it's the same kind of strategy. They kept me on it for 2 days longer than they should have. Pretty dangerous stuff. And they came into me in the room, the main doctor there, and poor nurses come in, and I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. And they all put their hand in my hands, sorry, we're gonna have to put you into emergency surgery. We're gonna take your whole colon. So at the time, believe it or not, I was kind of almost inviting this because in my mind, I'm in serious trouble. I've tried absolutely everything. They put me on and off steroids again. And none of it was working. It's amazing how steroids work when you're on them, especially if they go to the system. It really lowers your symptoms. You think, this is amazing, but I think anybody who takes steroids, you just go back to your old self. It's just happening over and over again. Hence the emergency surgery. And so the colon had to come out, hence why I have to permanently wear that little contraption now, which is fashioned to my stomach. I thought I'll show you that one and not this one. But yeah, so anyway, I went up this bag. At the time, I felt okay, you know, because in many ways it was like the only answer that I could see, the real cure, the only cure, just take the organ out. And in my situation, actually, that I didn't have an option. That was, you know, the only reason to get it right. Anyway, next thing I know, I'm waking up, it all went well, and I've got this new contraption. First few days, I'm too out there, I'm too weak, I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. And I wasn't even eating as well, but you know, so sure they're going to try me on food just to see if everything works okay. And so that's what we did. You know, I went back to eating all this horrible poisonous food the hospital served me, not knowing any better at the time. I really didn't know about nutrition whatsoever. Interestingly, they don't give you any fibre. No fibre whatsoever. They realise this. They know this. It doesn't break down. They want to monitor you on these soft foods. So they were giving me Pringles, so I need salt and colon anymore. White bread, white pasta. They did give me butter, and I remember biting into a load of butter on toast. Unbelievable. The taste of, I didn't realise it must have been butter. But yeah, so anyway, everything was working okay. They were showing me how to be independent, to clean, to change the stick. This was getting me down a little bit because the whole process is quite miserable. It's quite grim. It's not nice. This new addition to my body. It's almost like you know, it's not natural. This thing I shouldn't have to take care of outside my body. This is something that should be inside the body, and we go about it another way. But I'm forced to live this new life. But it wasn't terrible in the hospital because I felt like I was somewhat normal. I was being seen by lots of nurses, and really, really nice, and lots of family support, things like that, visitors from friends. But it was when I got home that my mental health just plummeted. It just hit me instantly. Like people asked, "Oh, how long did it take?" And you talk about depression. How long did it take? It was the very next morning. I was back at my mum and dad's house. They all went to well, obviously happy to be home. They were happy that I'm alive, home as well. It went well. But they left, and it was just a quiet. Me and this loud voice in my head that I couldn't escape. It was just racing. Never had so many racing thoughts, and these thoughts were just so negative. And it was like the negative version of me. You know, you got like the hero and the victim sort of voice in the back of your head. It was just like overpowered by this victim and this victim mentality. And I would berate myself. I would hit myself. And it just got so tough, you know. It's interesting because I went straight back to eating all of the foods that I ate before. It's crazy. I've not questioned everything that I didn't work. Just look at what position I'm in and the advice that I took. And from the professionals that I trusted, it didn't work. The drugs, the diet, nothing. But there I am eating the same old foods now. This is really interesting. No offense to anybody. I obviously now am in a position, a very unique position, where I can see the state that food is in as it would hit my old colon or anyone's colon, right? I'm seeing the way food looks once it gets to the colon, down into the stomach, through the small intestine. What does it look like? I'm seeing for the first time all these different colours and plant materials in the bag. I immediately thought, this is really strange. Like, look at that. There's like half a blueberry and a piece of grape and the broccoli and florets and nuts and seeds, and yet there's no meat, there's no eggs, there's no fish, nothing. And I've never questioned that before. It was like, why have I never questioned this before? But it's so strange because I didn't even show like Lucy. Like, look at this is crazy. Like, look at all these plants, and it's so colourful. And because obviously, you know, the job of the colon doesn't know, it's to reabsorb water and sodium, so, and then the food will cure for some time, and so it becomes much of the same colour. It's all stodged up. You won't see what I'm seeing. All I can think about is, poor me, the old version of me. No wonder I suffered so much, because all of this material that's intact is now hitting that organ in my body that's just so weak and worn down. And the lining's very thin, and I've got all these ulcers and bleeding and things like that. So I couldn't help but think that no wonder I'm in this position. But can you believe I still continue to eat a lot of these foods? Anyway, I developed a real bad relationship with myself, my body, my outlook. I developed a love-hate relationship with food because it was actually really difficult now to process food, even more so now with the bag and alcohol, because of the nature of the surgery and the way my stomach is protruding through the abdominal wall, and the food is trying to keep around this corner. Man, you know, you eat a load of fibre, you eat a load of whole foods, your abdominal wall starts to spasm because all of this rubbish that's indigestible is struggling. And it was like, I got to the point where I was like, done, I don't want to eat today. And then you get hungry and it's like, oh, okay, I'll eat. And then it's like, oh, I'm done, I don't want to eat today. This can go on and on and on. Anyway, I became really, really depressed, and I thought I knew what depression was because I had suffered here and there in the past. But this was on another level, and it got to the point where I was like, I think life is acceptable to me. But this is unacceptable. I can't even clean and wash myself, to go and leave the house or to tidy up my room or anything. It was just like, it just wasn't happening, you know. I wasn't able to take care of myself anymore. Life was just unacceptable. This is what I tried to stress to my doctor again. I didn't want to take medication, but I also thought I've tried everything else and I'm alone here and I can't manage, I can't cope. You can't take care of yourself. What good are you? You know, loved ones, friends, and kind of bring people around. You bring them down with you. It's not like you want to, but you can't help but think about anything else other than the severe pain that you're in. It's very difficult to describe because I think that the physical pain, you know, even the worst, the pain that I've experienced in my life, I'd take that down with depression. You almost understand it. You can even describe the pain quite easily. You know, it's a stab sensation. You get these tingles. But mental pain is so hard to put in words because you just can't even construct the next chapter of your life. You can't put your next day together. You can't be rational. You're totally unreasonable. You're in your head all the time, living your life in your head. And you have to fool a lot of people that you feel guilty about upsetting. Anyway, I reached out to the doctor. We had a conversation and he said, of course, you know, severely depressed. I didn't go into too much detail, but I was definitely suicidally depressed. He gave me this number to go and call, and there's a unit with you, and I called these people, and I had a long 4 or 5 minute conversation with them. It made me feel quite good because the first time I shared every single problem I could think of in detail, over the phone to a complete stranger, and I got off the phone and said, that was pretty good. I feel like I've read someone's stress, felt a bit of relief. I felt like I was getting the ball rolling and I was going to be helped. So it gave me hope, you know, and I think actually that's a great way to describe depression. There's not an ounce of hope in any way from any angle, no hope, hopeless. So anyway, I'm now waiting a second call from this unit. A few days go by. It's not a problem. I'm thinking, I'm not going to get it to be so quickly, right? Weeks go by. Should I call these people? It was a really long number and you can't, it's like one in thing. You can't call this number back, right? 2 months goes by, and I realise now I'm on my own. Lucky me, I'm sitting on the couch and watching YouTube, right? Just by chance, I see Low Carb Down Under channel. Never heard of this channel. It pops up and see Kerry standing there. And the video is called Don't Eat This. So I put this on. I have no idea what it's all about. And you've got this young lady there, glowing with health, lots of confidence up there on stage, talking about autoimmunity and severe depression. And I thought, I'm suffering with autoimmunity. I'm severely depressed. She's standing there saying, you know, I've gone on a line diet, carnivore diet, very strict carnivore diet. All of those problems were gone, ameliorated. So I thought, I'm solved. You know, I was in so much pain that the idea of just going on this really restricted diet was a breeze. It was a problem for me at all. So anyway, I turned to my partner and said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this carnivore challenge. And obviously the algorithm, you know, you get all these other doctors there and you shouldn't make all these people. But of course, all these BBBE challenges, right? Well, that's cool. It's not just like red meat. I can do that. Bacon and eggs for breakfast, steak and eggs for lunch, whatever. You start steak and butter. Great, cool. I can do that. And so anyway, we go to the store, we grab enough stuff because I almost felt like I wasn't confident enough. You know, we bought quite a lot, so I was good for a few days. And I was eating about 3 meals a day anyway. First day, I noticed that my acid reflux had gone. This wasn't something that was pressing. I was so depressed, acid reflux was like, anyway, gone. Next day I was eating like that burning repeat sensation in my throat. That's strange. Week goes by, my back's gone. Weird, not acting in my back. And then slowly but surely, right, I'm thinking, is this going to happen? Is this going to work for me? Day 21 hits, depression gone. I've been on the carnivore diet for 2.5 years. I'm on depression. No medication, no acid reflux, no fatigue. I remember pulling over this day one and recording my testimony because it was so profound. And it's amazing because on that day 21, I was talking about burning in the sun, not sweating like I used to, things that just crazy benefits that you don't expect to find things that weren't really a problem. I don't think sweating was a big issue. We're going out cleaning windows, right, and coming with red nose and red. Oh, but some people still burn on some state, you didn't care, right? I don't burn at all, right? Me and Lucy went to our sister's wedding in Jersey. Lucy had the mentality went rogue, so she kind of started eating some more plants again while she was there. I had just the salmon at the meal, the wedding meal, just the little bit of beef that they had, just the egg. We went on this long walk. We came back, Lucy had burned, and I just like, it's amazing, right? But for me, I went carnivore 2.5 years ago to address my depression, and I didn't just address it, I just killed it, it's gone. You know, and I feel unstoppable. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I have this energy now that wasn't present before, and it's infectious, you know, I'm sure. Extra energy, it's like words of reserve. And yeah, I eat usually once a day, sometimes twice. Close to a lion diet now. I used to think it was crazy. Now, if you're not doing that, that's crazy. And there's nothing extreme about this. I think, you know, losing your colon on E20 is extreme. To have multiple medications, you know, not working as well, I'm still taking them. I've noticed as well, as I've cleaned with so many different customers, a lot of these people are quite old, there's something with their health. And what I found is, and nothing against these people, I think they have good intentions, a lot of these doctors. They're just doing what they're trying to do. But unfortunately, it seems that this is trend. You have a problem, you go down to your doctor, and you never stop going back. And I see so many customers in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and I have to arrange with them, you know, are you going to be there? Can I get, is there access to the bath? You know, don't really just clean France, right? So they'll say, oh, you know, can we do like Thursday? So I've got to go to the doctor tomorrow. It's always, all the time, every time we see these people going to the doctor, go to the hospital. That's no life. You know, I would argue that we're just dying longer. I know some people think we're living longer, we are dying longer. And it's so hard to see because so many times I feel like I should say something. And I have done here and there. I have offended people here and there. People that I've had a really good rapport with, you know, I mentioned the word cancer, don't dare. So I kind of like keep quiet now. But it's so hard, you know, you can't see it. You go carnivore, it's like being unplugged. A new life, a new lens over my eyes. I'm able to see the world for what it really is. I think autonomously, I don't, not like a conspiracy theorist, but I don't just trust everything that I hear from someone that you know, I've absorbed something, I've learned something. It's like, well, okay, I've got some new information, but is it true? Is it accurate? You know, think for yourself. And it's so true what Lauren said, you know, you have to look after yourself. It's about, unfortunately, you are responsible for your own health. You can't just look at some study about grapes, go, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to have 5 years of my life, right? Some grapes for my diet. Or, you know, you've got to think about this ancestrally. If it's not local, seasonal, or right, definitely don't need it. If it's got multiple ingredients, you know, we didn't cook in sea oil, we didn't cook in a pan, you know, and got these throat chemicals everywhere. I think we want to gravitate towards natural, anything natural, you know, that's why you look at cast iron, stainless steel, something like that. I personally don't like air fries. I think it's non-stick stuff and then forever chemicals and all this kind of stuff, you know, and actually I gravitate more and more towards raw. That's just me, I seem to thrive even more so. It's like leveling up, raw fat, raw meat, cooking your steaks rare and things like that. But to me, you know, red meat is king and the body knows exactly how to heal. All you have to do is just give it a damn chance.
Lee's incredible. Lee has gone through so much. He could have just went out and lived your life and done it, but he's decided to share his story on YouTube, and inspiring so many people. If you guys want to get inspired, read some of the comments in Lee's channel. Lee, you saved my life. Like, how does that feel?
Oh, it never gets old. Yeah, and when you get an email, I mean, the other day, it's just tricky. I'm trying not to cry, but you get an email from like a dad or a mum saying that their son's autism's like 50% through this. Like, what do you do with that? It's incredible. You know? Just eat me.
So we're gonna do some Q&A after Dr. Robert Kiltz. Please, everyone here, if you have any questions, there's a pen and some paper right there. That's how we're gonna do it. We can hand it around, yeah, please. If you have any questions, we're gonna try to take some questions off the stream as well, although we're very limited on time. So if we can't get to all the questions, I'm going to do another live stream. I'll invite everyone here, if anyone can make it, to try to get to all of the questions, because there's probably quite a few on there we're not gonna be able to get to. Without further ado, up next, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Robert Kiltz.
I love you. I love you too. This is a very inspirational place to be because all of these people here inspired me for a long, long time. And I, as a physician, have learned from who? All of you. Medicine is social media. It is not the doctors, unfortunately, right now. But what's our job? To teach the doctors. And again, because we went into medicine to help people, not hurt people. My sister had diabetes type 1 since age 4. She died at 52, and I saw the misery that she went through her entire life. But the doctors are trained in a way because of the Flexner report, which at one point basically took control to the wealthiest people who control the message for the masses, who are the peasants, the prisoners, the slaves, and the soldiers. That's who we are. And I don't mind being that. And ultimately, we are all kings and queens, because who's in charge of your life? You are. But the problem is we've been brainwashed. Intentionally, maybe. I don't know the answer. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I can't fix yesterday. I can only fix today. And as a human being, are we different? We're not different. We're identical. Our DNA, slightly different, not very much. I'm a surgeon. When I operate, it looks the same inside. But you know what I see a lot inside? Inflammation. Do you guys know what causes inflammation? Plants. Our immune system is perfectly great, but it is reacting to foreign antigens. That means something that doesn't belong in our body. But 99% of what gets in our body comes from animals or plants. Thank you. Plants are so good for you. Are plants live organisms? They are. Do they want to be eaten? No. But if they are eaten, are they dead? They're alive. They'll grow alive. They will kill you. They will control you. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine come from what? Plants. What toxic chemical comes from ribeye, red, fatty meat? Nothing. Simple, right? Now, the story of humanity, we suppose it came out of the trees onto the grass. But did we eat the grass or the grass eaters? We are hunters. We are wolves and lions. We are not pigs, cows, and sheep. But what do you feed a domestic animal? Plants. When you eat a plant, you become a domestic animal. Is that simple and easy? Right? And so I grew up on fruit, fiber, vegetables, cereal, salad, seeds, and nuts, because that is what? Healthy. But long ago, the masters figured it out. If I feed the masses plants, they become addicted and controllable. And I control the hunting grounds. Now, why did I control the hunting grounds? Because if you eat the meat, you become what? The master. Who is the master of your life? I am. Can you say those words? I am the master of my life. If you blame anyone for anything in your life, who does it hurt? You. Who's in control? You are. I am. We are. Okay? And so as a physician, I kicked out of school and again couldn't read. My father in jail. I was dyslexic. I couldn't read. I was kind of like a crazy little kid, ran around. But one thing I was good at was math. I couldn't read. well, you can't read, you can't go to medicine, because I looked at what it took to be a doctor and said, this is gonna work. But somehow I managed to be a doctor, to learn all the healthy things to teach everyone to do, which was mostly what? Plant-based, low animal fat diet. Okay? Well, as a fertility doctor, I took care of a lot of healthy women not conceiving. Now, they said, I'm healthy, I'm not conceiving. Does that make sense? What number one thing we're born for? Reproduction. That's it. And so they were eating a healthy diet. Now, how many of you have ever had your doctor ask you, tell me what you eat exactly? Never. Okay, so what you put in your mouth doesn't matter? Of course it does. Now, how do you make beer? Fermentation. It's all plants. And are you making beer in your belly all day long? Our children are running around with beer naked in their bellies, alcohol circulating in their bloodstream, because they're eating a plant-based, low animal fat diet. Is fat good for you or bad for you? It's the best thing. Does your body want you to be fat or skinny? Fat. Big time fat. Because if you're not fat in a famine, guess what? You're fertilizer fast. These ideas are a little radical, but it's simple. Should you eat lean meat or fatty meat? Fatty meat. Because when you eat fat, what does it do to the microbes in the gut? Kills them, which is what you want. Because the microbes, those probiotics, those beautiful good bacteria, they want to kill you. Because they are not good for us. They are deadly. But remember, there's a big business in selling all of that probiotic shit, right? You ever seen meat in the toilet? Never. When you eat plants, and I don't even know what a protein is. When we all say protein, there's either animals or there's plants. Now you could eat some microbes and other things in between, but let's just say there's plants and animals. Do you want to eat a skinny animal or do you want to eat a fat animal? Fat. Is there such thing as plant fat? Zero. There's plant oils. So as an ancient hunter, 50,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or even today, do you get any oils of significance from plants? You don't. Remember, all plant oils are industrial produced in order to control and kill you. Now, I do love olive juice and a martini. That's been felt dirty from time to time, but it's not all good for us. Do you know the American College of OBGYN in America, probably here too, recommends red wine for pregnant lactating women? Yes, it does. And they recommend a plant-based diet, lean meats, and no red meat. Because if you eat red meat, what happens to you? You become a master, you become healthy. Right? And so is there ever a plant required in the human diet? Never. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I too had arthritis, psoriasis, kidney stones, migraines, bowel bleeding, ton of bleeding out the other end. And my doctor said, it's okay, you don't have anything serious, we look inside the blood diets. I changed the look, get it looked at all the time. I had anemia, I had bladder bleeding. I used to teach meditation, prayer, I kind of do so a little bit, meditation, prayer, yoga, acupuncture, in order to do what? Lower your stress, fear, all those things, right? Who's fearful in life? I am. You know what I'm afraid of? So ultimately, my patients, so infertility is really hard to go through. And many people would never go to the doctor to get the fertility stuff. But if they did, they'd run away quickly because it was too what? Emotionally hard. And so I thought, oh, meditation, prayer, all these things help them out. It helped. But then some of my patients were getting pregnant on this thing called paleo diet. And I'm like, if someone's getting pregnant on something that they're not paying me for it, I got to know about it, right? And so I learned all about paleo diet. What's a paleo diet? Hunter gatherers. Now, I don't know what we're gathering. I'm going after the big beast. The wolves and lions go after the skinny little things. They don't fat things. And I imagine in ancient hunting, we wanted to show off to the rest of the tribe that we can kill the big beast. That's who we are, right? So I taught paleo, and then I had all those diseases I mentioned, and I got better. And then I found keto. I got better. And then one day I was watching, it must have been Richard Smith on YouTube about 15, 20 years ago. Some dude who was ripped and he ate meat, he didn't exercise. And I said, that was for me. So I went carnivore almost 15 years ago. In 1 month, I had everything gone. I've never felt better in my life. Oh, I did find Jesus Christ probably around 25 years ago. That also helped me in this. Like, what if Jesus most will have? I don't care. But you must have faith in who? God. Okay, say that one again. Who said that? Yourself. AKA God. Nobody but God within all of us, brothers and sisters. And so ultimately was God, was he a lamb or a lion? We are lions, so is he. And as lions, we eat what? Sheep. Makes you the strongest, most powerful person in the universe, but the most important part is love, kindness, generosity. Right? And that's what this community is all about. The beauty is, we're kind of like the vegans used to be a minority. But we want to teach this around the globe to our brothers and sisters, because without doing that, our children are going to suffer. And my daughter recently had a large fiber removed. And what'd she get, man? Plants. Anyone ever heard of a goiter? A goiter is a large damaged thyroid. How about goitrogenic foods? Do you know goitrogenic foods are tumorgenic foods to every cell of your body? See, we in medicine don't know this, don't talk about it. And so it's really our job and my job to help train your doctors. Be honest with them. Scare them a little bit. Right? I did some quick notes went down, but Salisbury Steak, you guys know Salisbury Steak? Salisbury Steak was a doctor in America that in the Civil War, his men were dying of dysentery and pneumonia. And he put them all on meat. He wrote an amazing book. Damn. I know there are a lot of questions here, but a really important, and I'll stop with this, is that the bugs in the belly, remember, you eat a plant-based diet and a protein-based diet. Protein is not good for us. Fat is, not protein. Protein poisoning. But protein and plant sugars are fermentable. They grow in your belly, the microbes, they go out the rectum anus, they go up into the vagina, cervix, uterus, tubes, pelvis, because every disease a woman suffers from, including plant-caused ovarian sickness, PCOS. But the microbes also crawl up the esophagus into the upper and lower respiratory system and cause every disease you suffer from. And depression, anxiety is all secondary to what? Plant-based disease. Occam's razor says the simple answer is the one. Then the simple answer is we are lions. We are not sheep. And when we realize that every one of our brothers and sisters are the same, and we want to help each other heal, and your suffering was for a reason to help us all learn and be better. And who amongst us has not suffered? None of us, right? Suffering strength. So a blessing, thank you to this man and this man for going around the globe and helping us all, and everyone who's sharing their words. And I really encourage everyone to do the same thing, because it's about sharing the word and inspiring all of us to live a better life. Thank you.
We can start cheering up again. Dr. Kiltz. One of the reasons I started Carnivore was watching all the good doctors and then thinking, what is their motivation? Like every doctor I've seen before, they wanted to get me on a prescription. They wanted me to buy something. They wanted me to do something. I'm like, Dr. Kiltz is out here literally on his own dime, volunteered his time to fly all the way out here. What is his motivation? He wants to help heal humanity. He wants to help people. So. If you guys aren't following Dr. Kiltz, by the way, link in the description. He's got social media, he's everywhere. So next up, we're going to try to take some questions, but we're going to have to go kind of quick, maybe turbo round. And you might help him. Maybe does anyone have questions here that they've written down? We'll start with those first. And we'll pass the mic around. I'm hoping we can just do like one answer each, so we're not repeating, so we can get to as many as possible. Because now clips from the documentary that people haven't seen yet that we want to share with you, but yeah, we're limited on time, so. Here, I'll hand this in the middle here, you guys can back. I'm gonna use this mic here. Test. Okay. Question for Kerry, that's me. Has a similar transformation with her health. I'm particularly interested in carnivore is more fundamental for men. Absolutely. My daughter Emma was vegan for 5 years and she went carnivore. It's completely changed her life. She's like a different person. She was fatigued and she had acne and she had depression. And she's like Lauren said earlier, she's the best version of herself. My wife has been carnivore for 200 days. She's still got a long journey to go, but it's been absolutely life-changing for her. She birthed triplets, which is quite traumatic, and so it's done a lot of damage to her body. It's been incredible. My whole family, I have five, I think it's five women in the house, and they're all doing carnivore. My one daughter is doing keto, and they're all absolutely thriving. So thank you for that question. Question, how much fat? Question often asked, but it has conflicting answers. Anyone up here want to answer how much fat is appropriate on carnivore?
100% fat. Because adipose tissue contains every mineral, vitamin, and building block for yourself and your baby. This is the truth. And not cooked fat, actually raw fat, which is kind of hard to believe, but for the first 3.5 million years, and even what other animal cooks their food? None. Cooked food actually is harmful for us and raw is healthier for us. So now you could eat only fat, but we do eat, meat that comes with the leaner meat, but really there is no fat in plants, and an avocado is a fruit. It is not a fat. Sorry. And my daughter would actually die to an avocado. She's highly allergic to it. And my suspicion is that most of our diseases are allergies to plants. That's all it is.
Is here a good source of protein?
I'm not a fan of any plant compound whatsoever, although fermented is going to be more beneficial. I think we see benefit potentially during the early stages, but there's no requirement for any plant compound whatsoever. I think, as Dr. Kiltz was just alluding to there, eat as nature intended. Nature provides us with this perfectly packaged present that contains protein and fats. Everything in nature comes with protein and fat. It's coupled with protein and fat. Our cells are protein and fat. We don't need to consume any plant compounds whatsoever. I have seen benefit with people as they transition into the lifestyle in the initial phases, but I do believe as we gravitate deeper into eating a more animal-based way of living, that our requirement for any exogenous form of carbohydrate or plant compound for that matter is zero. Anybody else can jump on?
That's good. Thank you. We're going to try to do sort of a turtle round, so thank you for that. Next question is, can you just stop statins or do you need to wean off them? What side effects could there be when you stop statins?
I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you to stop or start statins whatsoever. If you take a statin and you have any side effects, go straight back to your doctor. What could those side effects be? Well, muscle pain, loss of memory, confusion. That's probably the top 3 side effects from a statin. True story, my father-in-law went on a statin, had all those things, and it was pretty shocking. Within about a month, this is a guy that you could say to him, I'll see you next Thursday, 4:30 at the garage. If you can pick me up there, that'd be great. And he would remember that, he wouldn't even have to write it down. Within 4 weeks, he was ringing every single day. My wife, because it's my father-in-law I'm talking about now. Am I seeing you today? Are we doing anything? It was really shocking. Okay, now the reason I'm telling you this is because the doctor said, come off the statin. So then 2 years later, he's put back on a statin for a different thing, and all the symptoms came back. So you've got to take control. Because when he came to me, he said, do you think I should come off that? I said, I can't do that. I said, you know, even though you're part of the family, I don't want that responsibility. You can do your own research. You sort of know what I think, but, you know, you've got to take control. And then about a day later, his wife came in and said, you know, Jed's terrible. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's confused. He's got muscle pains. He can hardly walk and all that sort of stuff. I said, well, you've got to go back to the doctor. And again, the doctor took him off the statins. Now, you shouldn't have that in your notes and then be put straight back on it. That's the frustrating thing for me. It is a contentious issue. There is so much research about it that you could go online and you could ask that question. But they are the 3 major symptoms. Whether it will confer a benefit is a question as well, which you can look up. What benefit will you get from taking statin? And when you look at the studies, it's pretty sketchy. And there's a thing called number needed to treat. And that means that if let's say there's 200 people in this room, and I am a doctor and I prescribe you something, and the number needed to treat is 200, it means I've got to give that tablet to 200 of you, with the possibility of one of you getting a benefit from it. That's pretty shocking. There's also number needed to harm. Now, when you look at statins, if you look at those 2 things, one's a very big number, one's a very small number. Sadly, the number needed to treat is a much bigger number than the number needed to harm. So, you know, this is a political answer. It's not what I really want to tell you, but that's how I would look at it. I would definitely research it. And if you still feel that it's going to give you a benefit, then and your doctor keeps you on it, then that is your decision. As Robert just said, you are in control. Sadly, there are people that control the information. So you do need to do your research, and don't believe the first thing that you research as well. As both Richard and I have done on live streams, we have asked the internet for answers, and only by interrogating ChatGPT, for instance, do you get the real answer. So the first time you punch in, should I take a statin, you might get a very brief bit of, I'm going to say it, bit of propaganda. Because if you then question it further, and you ask for, well, could you just give me the number needed to treat, the number needed to harm, you will get that. And if you see that the number needed to treat is 1 in 200, and the number needed to harm someone is 1 in 25, that's off the top of my head, it's something like that, quite frightening, then you can make that decision.
I'll jump on this really quickly. Statins block or partially block a pathway called the mevalonate pathway, which is how we produce cholesterol. But cholesterol is essential for life. It's essential for cell formation, cell communication, nutrient absorption, nutrient transportation. It's essential for production of hormones, and it's essential for healing. Also, when we block this pathway, it can prevent us or partially prevent the HM-CoA pathway, which is how we produce ketones. And ketones have been proven to increase things like NAD plus the NADH ratio, balance glutamate and GABA, and allow you to live much longer. So, in my opinion, if it were me, again, as Stephen just said, we can't give medical advice. Stephen and I are doctors, but I would not be consuming such a compound. but blocking such an essential pathway.
All right, we're going to try to do a bit of a turbo round now because we got a bunch of questions here. Like I said, for those on the stream, I'm going to do a follow-up live stream to make sure we answer everyone's question if we can't get to all of them. Question for my brother from the UK, Alex. Alex, what is the best side effect of carnivore?
Okay, so I've been in Carnivore 2.5 years, 950 days. I think that's the three main categories for me. About weight loss, considerable, amazing physical benefits. Half of it talked about today, including diverticulitis, which I forgot. And the third one is mental health. I would say if I could only choose one of them, it would be my mental health. It's priceless, guys. As in the speech, I was getting up to 60. And I wouldn't say suicidal, but my mental health was destroyed. And I know it's affecting millions of people because of what we eat now, and research it. But today, I say to my family, I feel decades younger. I can remember son who was born 32 years ago. No physical issues, no mental issues. Life was a gas. It was great. And I feel the energy levels of that days I'm doing yoga now. For 9 weeks, and I'm fitter than I've been since I was about 25, 26, even with prosthetic knee. But mental health is the number one for me. And I think if anybody's got that, come out of that box, guys, and try and embrace it and realize that the carnivore diet, it's not for everybody, but for me, it's changed my life.
The question we have here, Adam will answer this one. How do you manage to eat well while traveling in hotels? Prepare. So make your own beef jerky, figure out ahead of time. When we traveled Australia and here, we went to the grocery store right away. We got eggs, bacon, carnivore bar, or what are some other things? Anything else?
Basically, carnivore bar for me, it's super easy. You can take it across borders, especially if you're going country to country, because prepackaged, I know they're expensive, but you're only traveling, here and there. So it's really a quick and easy way to get the fat in. So fat's the most important thing. Jerky's great. Can give you a little satiate you a little bit, but the fat's more important, at least for me. So I go with carnivore bar when I'm traveling.
How about not eating?
I was going to say fasting. Fasting is another one. Question for Lee Copus. Oh, this is a good one. If you had to eat one plant, what would you choose?
So I'm going to go off the context. Well, yeah, this is the thing, right? So I'm going to give you two answers. If you have a gut issue like I had, or you have a stomach like I had, you're almost wanting to consume things like white rice, white potato. It sounds kind of crazy, right? But at least that stuff doesn't contain all these the fiber compounds, the stuff gluten likes. The more processed that is, in a sense, the white, that's what they affect me essentially. So probably white rice, something like that, white potato. But if you've got a healthy gut, you don't have any autoimmunity or something like that, probably something like an olive, which is a bit more innocuous, not so poisonous, not so inflammatory. I never advocate for any carbohydrates. I can't bring myself to. I mean, I could say, eat a banana, they're quite pliable and soft, and that's easy on the digestive tract. Yes, in comparison to, say, brown rice and pineapple, very fibrous foods like that. So it depends on what you have. If you had a blood glucose issue, stay away from white rice and white potato, right? Eat the olive instead. So it does depend on context. I cannot advocate on consumption. It's just me.
One of the things, if you add the fat, it counteracts, because really in our ancient time, you never ate protein or just fat, you combined the two. So if I do French fries from time to time, extra crispy, duck grease fried with a ton of either butter, sour butter, mayonnaise, you make it yourself, or sour cream, because it's the fat you want to eat. So when you eat fat, it goes to the lymphatics, it's distributed everywhere. But you break down sugars and amino acids, they go to the liver and they make fat.
Thank you. We have a question from the stream from Chris Stearns. Question, with the regulation of ingredients in food in the UK being so cleaner than what's allowed in the US, what are the opinions of the panel of poison that we here allow in our food?
Misanthropic is disaster. Any processed food contains glyphosate, seed oils, dextrose, this kind of stuff. It's terrible. Does anybody want to add to that?
Well, why would you want to eat foods that, even if they don't contain those extra poisons, they're poisonous in the beginning? So I don't care what the regulations say, it's deadly food either way.
But they're not foods. First and foremost, they're not foods. These compounds that we find within the supermarket are heavily manipulated by man. They contain man-made chemicals that are not fit for human consumption. Seed oils are not fit for human consumption. As Lee just mentioned, the glyphosate blocks our bodies, but it blocks the shikimate pathway, which is how we produce neurotransmitters in our brain. 95% of our neurotransmitters are produced in the gut, and this is what glyphosate, which is sprayed on grains as well as fruits and vegetables, contains. It blocks 95% of your body's ability to create your neurotransmitters, which are essential for life and essential to combat things like anxiety and depression. When we remove these anti-nutrients, tryptophan, tyrosine, phenylalanine are able to produce things like dopamine and serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, so on and so forth. These things that you find in the supermarket, there are only two aisles, I would argue one in fact, but I will go along the lines of two. The first aisle in the supermarket that contains real food is the meat aisle, meat and fish aisle. The second would be for somebody coming into this who is not used to listening to these stories about a carnivore lifestyle. I would, in regards to what you said, with your kids, a cool food diet. So this is what I do with my little girl. I'd love my little girl to be carnivore, but she wants the best one in the world. Now, I could force her to do this when she's with me, but this then will create backlash. She will push away, she'll resent me for it, and she won't eat anything that I cook and prepare for her. The second thing is that when she's away from me, she's open to other compounds that her grandparents, her mum, and so on and so forth are going to cook. So what I say to her, I take her shopping and I let her pick anything that she wants as long as it's a single ingredient food. Yes, plants and the fruits contain compounds that I don't want her to consume, but I'd rather her consume them, knowing that they are real, sort of. That's open for debate. But animal proteins, natural fats, and proteins are key to anything. And I'm hoping that through this transition, that she'll see the light in many years to come and make this decision herself. Because the worst thing we can do to our kids, I think, is force them into. It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah,
you touch base. It's. I'd love her to be carnivore, but she's certainly animal-based. Very little fruit and veg, and it typically makes up a quarter of her plate at best. Animal proteins always. Animal proteins is the only aisle in the supermarket where I will stretch to vegetables. I don't eat vegetables, by the way, and I don't advocate for them. But for those of you who have gravitated into this slowly, then it is an incremental change.
On that note, just to quickly share a funny story actually. The other day, well, a couple months ago, it was Harvest Festival at school, and my 5-year-old son came home and he said, "Mummy, they're trying to make me sing a song and I'm refusing to sing it. I don't want to sing it." And I said, "What's the song then, William?" And he said, "I've got to sing Vegetables Are Healthy."
All right, we have a question here. I have had rheumatoid arthritis for 23 years on biologic and steroids. I have been carnivore, strict for 3 months. I have had to still take steroids, finding it very hard to come off the steroids. I suppose I want to know, when will I see results?
These things take time. You've had a lifetime of abuse in regards to the toxins that you put into your body. We're not going to fix this within 3 months. This is a question Stephen and I get quite often. You can jump in on this, Steve, if you like. But 3 months isn't, you do me. 3 months isn't long enough. We typically start to see improvements around 12 weeks, but it can take as long as 12 months. You're not going to fix a lifetime, 30, 40, 50 years of abuse in 1 week. And I think this is one of the hardest things for people to recognize. because they gravitate into a better way of living and they don't see the benefits until they go back to consuming the compounds that they once were, and these benefits that they have had, but they don't notice, all go away, and all these problems come back. We start to see benefits almost immediately in regards to setting insulin levels, for example. If you start to consume low carb, insulin will drop pretty much overnight. And this can rectify things like essential hypertension, which is an insulin-dependent state, by the way. Look and focus on the positives. Feel the lack of inflammation in your body. Think of the fog that's been lifted. You know, I think Alex, you mentioned this, that you can see more clearly. You know, your vision comes back quite literally. The fog is lifted, and you can see things you couldn't see before. Steve's hearing has improved. Your clients' hearing has improved. So I think we need to focus on the positives over the negatives. But time is incredibly important. Stick with it, and we will see improvements the longer you gravitate towards the lifestyle.
And I think with some joint issues like that, it isn't just diet. So movement is another thing that you need to try and improve. So it's corny, but it does stick in people's heads. Motion is lotion. So if you think that just sitting on your chair and eating the right food is going to get rid of your arthritis, you're going to have a long wait, because you do need to get the body moving, the biomechanics of the body, things like your synovial fluid, it needs to see the joints moving. So I often say this, if your intense exercise, when you see it on YouTube, you think, I'll never be able to do that, and you can't even get out of a chair, or getting out of a chair is your intense exercise. So don't judge yourself on what you see on YouTube or these influencers. Talk about being better compared to how you were the day before. So it's all about you, really. So if you get out of the chair once a day and it's difficult, then tomorrow you think, right, I'm going to try and do that twice. By the end of the year, you're going to be doing it 365 times. So it's sort of small incremental changes. But as Rich and I say very often, most things improve between about 26 weeks plus or minus 6.
Question for Alex. Alex Cannon, what are you most excited about for your health life in 2025? This is from Stephanie. Happy, sexy health. P.S. Thanks for sharing your inspiring stories today and every day on social media. We're so grateful to you. So, Alex, what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Well, I've already paid for my wife's 60th birthday holiday in Amalfi in Italy. Now, if she'd have said to me 3 years ago, I'm going to go to Amalfi, I said, go in alone. Not that extreme, but I just wouldn't have been bothered. I actually paid for her holiday and my holiday. That's not till next September. My enthusiasm, guys, is just so crazy. So I'm looking forward to celebrating my 60th birthday. My daughter's trying for a baby, so you never know. I'll be speaking to Dr. Kiltz as well about that. She's Carnivore. I don't know, I'm at that point now where I've done on a couple of my videos, I was slipping and sliding down the hill, and I feel now that I'm climbing up it. Dr. Cheeky talks about, we should be living to 110, 120, even more. I was skeptical about that, but you know what? I'm not 66. Well, I'm 66. I'm not an old guy anymore. I'm not an official UK old age pensioner, which I am. But I feel as though we're just getting close to that moment, 66. Another 60 odd years to go yet. So that's how I feel. And that's why I do my channel. I love good news and I love sharing it. Now that I've got over the fact that people have got so many issues and sometimes as they might speech, the veil goes up, I just live my life to the best I can nowadays. I've done line dieting in November, optimum for me. I've done it twice, but I do love a belly pork. I like a glass of wine, I like a beer, I like Coca-Cola, but I cut out Coca-Cola. I cut out beer because obviously it's a wheat and everything, but I have a glass of Sauvignon Blanc, a glass of sparkling wine, and I'm a happy bunny, guys. I'm the happiest I've been for 30 years.
Question for Dr. Kiltz. Can carnivore heal a birth defect of 100% hearing loss, 50% balance?
Well, when we say a birth defect, I mean, all defects in our body, I believe, is secondary to some inflammatory process that may have damaged the DNA in development, but other genetic abnormalities. So it all depends what the cause of it is also, by the way. But many of them, I think, may be cured by a carnivore diet. We can't see anyone specific, but certainly carnivore removes the plant antigens, the chemicals, and the sugars which we're allergic to, which we know that all cells of our bodies are affected by this. So you don't know until you do it. That's the one thing that we all need to realize. It's in the doing of something and in visualizing that it is going to get better or be healed by doing that.
Here's maybe the favorite question. What do you recommend a kid to eat? Because I'm a kid and I crave chips and Japanese food a lot. And what about hair and skin products? And if vitamins are plants or meat, what are they and what meat has it most?
What was the last one?
What about hair and skin products? And if vitamins aren't plants or meat, what are they and what meat has it most?
Great question. So in regards to lotions and potions, you don't need them. Your skin, I used to suffer with severe skin conditions, many of us did. The skin is, if you suffer with skin conditions, regardless of what it is, it's a case of autoimmune, which means that you've consumed a compound that has caused a hole in the lining of your gut, the release of a molecule called zonulin, which is achieved via wheat germ agglutinin, phytochemagglutinin in plants, things like casein, alcohol, so on and so forth. So you remove these, you heal the gut, your skin and your hair become a lot better. In regards to animal proteins in vitamins and minerals, plants don't contain an awful lot of human proteins, animal proteins, and they are two very different things. And I'll give you some examples to be incredibly quick. Vitamin A does not exist in plants. Vitamin A does not exist in plants. Yet my mum used to tell me to eat my carrots so I could see in the dark because of the retinol that was found in the carrots. Carrots do not contain retinol. They contain beta-carotene, which is a precursor that needs to be acted upon by an enzyme called BCMO in order to convert it into the active form of retinol. The issue with this is that it's depleted by over 20 times to convert it into retinol. And also this is a compound that is used in the conversion T4 to T3. So if you suffer with thyroid issues, you don't want to be getting your vitamin A from plants because you will never, ever be able to obtain enough. And it's a similar story with B vitamins, thiamine, B1, riboflavin B2, which is critically important if you suffer with methylation problems, by the way, which you cannot obtain in high enough quantities from plant compounds without consuming toxic chemicals like lectins, phytic acids, oxalates, so on and so forth. And it's a similar story with pyridoxine, vitamin B6, B12, cobalamin, vitamin D, choline, creatine, carnitine, taurine, which is why your tinnitus went away, by the way. So these compounds that we find within plants that are classed as vitamins and minerals, they're not fit for humans. They're not animal vitamins and minerals, and these work very differently within different body. I can see Dr. Kiltz chomping on the bit, so I'm going
I have a question for you. Can you get every mineral and vitamin you need from eating meat?
Yes. Yes.
Do you require plant something?
Not at all.
Thank
We're kind of running out of time here, so I really appreciate all the questions. Evan and I were just talking, in a week from now, we're going to do another live stream. We'll invite everyone that's on the panel here to be able to join us. And maybe after the event, if you have a question for one of the speakers, please feel free. We just have a couple clips and some behind the scenes stuff we want to show you from the documentary. Speakers, if you want to move to, feel free. It might be a little neck ache. Carnivores don't get neck aches, but it might be a little more comfortable. So at the live stream, thank you all for joining us. If you're on the live stream, we really appreciate it. Follow all of the speakers there on YouTube. Support